podcast brings you real-time news updates, in-depth analysis, and interactive discussions on global events, making you a part of the conversation no matter where you are. With a diverse range of expert guests and listener participation, it's your go-to source for staying informed and connected to the world. Coffee and Toe is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to lormelskinfood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House. All right, so, okay, happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. Good morning. Adesoji, I'm not sure if it's you. I'm not sure if it's fan base, but I know I've been kicked out. Well, didn't get kicked out. I was frozen on fan base. I had to leave and come back. Sent you the invite to come up on stage. But yeah, yes, AT. I feel you. I say, yeah, we are frozen on. I'm frozen right now because I can't even scroll up or down. So
I sent him an invite.
okay, I hear you, Ja. But the funny thing is, your mic, because I'm frozen, my screen is frozen. Um, yeah, it looks as though your mic is still closed. All right, folks. AT, Marlon, Adesoji, Ja. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I hope. I hope. I hope.
Good morning, everybody. All is well. I had a wonderful weekend. I caught up with family.
Awesome.
We celebrated the February and March birthdays, which was like 12 million of them, including the babies. We had 4 generations celebrating.
Wow. Wow.
So that was really, really good.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I'm just hoping I don't get any cooties from all the babies. Let me just say that.
Oh my God. Lord,
these children are the ones that unfortunately are the carriers of all the nonsense that's going on right
now. You're something else. Wow. Okay. All right. Fan base. I'm probably frozen. Can't do anything. I'm going to leave and come back. I'll be right back with you, fan base. In the meantime, I want to say thank you once again to everyone watching on YouTube Live, everyone listening online, QMZRadio.com, JohnORadio.com, and MadMusicHouse.com. Here we go. So I have a request. I have sent enough complaints to the support team on Fanbase. Let's get this fixed. Let's get this going. All right. So happy Monday once again. Happy Monday. All right. As always, we kick it off in the Caribbean corner. I'm not going to allow them to get me frustrated this morning. I see that's the mission, but not today, Satan. Not today. All right. First up out of the Caribbean corner, CARICOM leaders accept recommendation to appoint Jamaican as CCJ president. This article, courtesy of JamaicaObserver.com. Caribbean Community CARICOM leaders have accepted the recommendation of the Regional Judicial Legal Services Commission to appoint the Jamaican-born jurist Justice Winston Anderson as the new president of the Caribbean Court of Justice. The Trinidad-based CCJ was established on February 14, 2001, to replace the London-based Privy Council as the region's highest court. And while most of the regional countries are members of its original jurisdiction, that also serves as an international tribunal interpreting the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, only Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Guyana, and St. Lucia are members of its appellate jurisdiction. Anderson becomes the fourth president of the CCJ, replacing the St. Vincent and the Grenadines jurist, Justice Adrian Saunders, who retires later this year. And of course, Barbados' Prime Minister and CARICOM Chairman Motley said, "We congratulate him on the agreement of heads to his appointment to the highest position of the regional treaty interpretation body." And Anderson is young. Excuse me, he's young. He's 65 years old. He's a graduate and former lecturer of the University of the West Indies, as well as Cambridge University, where in 1988 he received a doctorate in philosophy, majoring in international and environmental law. So that's a little bit about him, and we say congratulations. All right. Next up, Morning Man Libran. Next up, Caribbean leaders will invite US President Donald Trump to the region. I need to behave myself. And there, I think y'all know why I'm laughing. I don't see him coming. He didn't come to the Caribbean in his first time around. I don't see him coming this time. I don't know. What does the Caribbean region have to offer that he would find it he would find the time to come to the region?
There's a lot of golf clubs.
You can behave yourself, You see them cancel Jerry and I'm gonna cancel me. I'm not even start yet. Listen, and it has begun. That thing, so Ja, not to go off on a tangent before I even get in the story, but Ja, so I saw the invitation and the advocation and everything that has been circulating on social media. And let me ask a question. To what avail? So we run up the numbers and everybody shows up. You think it's going to make a difference? It's not going to make a difference.
In all honesty, I had that same thought, but why not let her go out with a bang? Okay? Because once you've had something that has become, what's the word? Like, man, Adesoji, what am I trying to say?
An institution.
Like, if today, whatever day today is, because I don't even know, if this was the highest rating
all day long,
if she end up with the highest ratings ever from MSNBC, they can never take that from her. They can never take that from her.
Of course.
I get it.
I mean, it's not about ratings. It's not about ratings. It's just about the fact that they have to make the orange clown very comfortable.
But here's the thing. I get what you're saying, Ja, and I get what everybody is saying, but you know who ultimately wins when we run up the ratings? MSNBC. They're the ultimate winners in all of this. Let's think about that. And what? No, they're the ones who are going to come out on top. Believe it or not, because they hold the handle. Because at the end of the day, the blade is still chopping her. They're not going to reverse. They have to appease somebody else.
No.
Saying we will not come. And I'm not giving MSNBC my time. I'm not.
You should. No, you should. You know why you should? Okay, so it's not so much as MSNBC wins. How does MSNBC not win? Is this? Yes, the ratings are as a result of Joy Reid's program being there. They cannot then use that ratings to go and market themselves out to anyone because Joy Reid is no longer on the network. Okay. So they don't win. They don't win. It's just for you to mark the fact that here is someone who basically has spoken truth to power, and represents your voice there. So sometimes it's not about them. It's just you. Sometimes you can't even help the fact that she's working in an organization that clearly doesn't value your opinion. But she's there. She's going out. At least she's being forced out. That's the understanding.
Right.
And so you go there, go and show your support as a regular. And the moment you're done, excuse yourself. Simple. That's it.
So, okay, Adesoji, get it. Here's the thing. I have never watched it on MSNBC. I don't watch MSNBC. And I'll be honest, I watch her on her social media handles, and I watch when um posts are done and that sort of thing. I support her that way. But let me ask a question. Why wasn't the Black community supporting her all along to that extent? Why are they waiting until the last minute to show up for her?
No, they were.
So
Not to the degree that they want us to know. So why? Why are we waiting until the last minute to say, come on, guys, let's support her?
Yeah, because the
So-
program is not about you. The program is about the truth. The truth does not know color. The truth does not see that she's not speaking Black truths. She's speaking the truth as humanity should see it.
Right.
That's her job. Yeah. The only thing is when you switch on the TV, you could tell that you're looking at somebody that looks like you.
Right.
So the question is, what does this person have for her to be there? She is qualified to be there. That's it. It's not about you being. She is qualified. She is like the best of them in there. You know.
Right.
So it's not so much as you're thumping the drum because it's Joy Reid. You're thumping the drum because somebody that looks like you is there doing the job as it should be done, holding the feet of power to fire, which is the job of a journalist.
Right.
Clearly, they don't want a journalist. They want an entertainer.
Right.
And so let them have an entertainer. But while your journalist, the person who represented you, that looked like you, that was the best at what she was doing, go out and give her flowers. Let her go out, as Lady Jar said, in a bag. That's it.
I get it, but
moments.
Go ahead.
So I have a family member who follows our current head person. I don't even want to give him a number. She follows his website. And it's not that Joy Reid didn't have the numbers. It's who recently bought the station. And I don't think I have to say anything else with that.
Okay.
So it wasn't that we didn't follow her. It's who has control of the station now, right? And as you can see with what's been going on with this country, there is certain hues that they don't want to be represented. That's it.
She did an entire expose on Project 2025. Go
Yes,
watch
she
it.
did.
It's
She did.
brilliant.
I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. So brilliant. But how many other journalists did that? How many? None. Basically none. They talked about it in passing, but she dedicated a couple of weeks to breaking it down. So much so that she read portions of it on air. And fast forward now, those same things are happening.
Yes, she did. I watched it on social media. I watched it on her social media handles. And and my thing is this. I think she's going to do way better off of their network than on their network. But again, I'm asking the question, why is it that the Black community is only ready to show up when it's time for her to be taken off air? Why weren't they showing up to the degree that they should have been showing up prior? That's my question.
It doesn't matter what degree they showed up because we don't have the power. We do not control the station.
But if we were showing up, she would have been having the numbers. And then here's the thing. They could not come and say that the ratings weren't there. You see what I'm saying?
No, that is not why she's being let go, Mo.
That is they're using that as part of the narrative to say that the ratings were not there.
And their narrative is fake news.
Okay.
Just like they're saying the people that they're letting go in the federal government, apparently your employment, your job, the things that you did not perform them up to snuff. Everybody knows that's not the truth.
Right.
Everybody knows that's not the truth. That narrative is going to be thrown out there to just cover themselves. That's just to cover themselves. And I don't even know why they want to cover themselves, because you're already showing us what you want. So don't fake the funk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't fake the funk. I'm on a highway, so I'm not sure if you're hearing me or not.
I'm not sure what's going on. I just lost okay, here we go. Just lost visual on YouTube. I hope YouTube is still hearing me. Yeah, we're here. I think she's going to be phenomenal. I think she's going to do even better. I don't see why we're gonna. I guess it's it's sending a message to them. I guess that's what it is.
When Mehdi Hassan was let go on MSNBC,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what they said? They said the ratings were suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that?
No.
Thank you very much. So why would you believe it with Joy Reid? That's it. I mean, it's these guys.
We know that, but but go ahead.
No, these guys are clear about giving you. Oh, there's another one. Oh, speaking of ratings, over this weekend, 2 generals were let go. General Brown and what's the lady's name? So she is the director of personnel in the U.S. Navy, and he is the chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He was a former fighter pilot, the highest military guy in the army at the moment, General Brown. Right? 4-star general. 4-star general. He was let go. There was no reason given for him for being let go, but they thanked him for his 40-year service, 4-decade service. And they replaced him with a 3-star general who has no fighting experience, is at best he was what do they call the ones that stay at home? What do they call them again?
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
There's a name for them. I want to remember the name they have for them. They're not reserve. They do this. Oh God! Anytime there's a disaster, they're the ones that normally front them. What's the name of that group? Okay, but to cut a long story short, he's not a combat officer, but he's now being made the head of the U.S. Armed Forces. And what's his claim to fame? President, whatever his name is, I love you. That's it. That's his claim to fame. So if somebody were to say, oh, of course, this general is not qualified, this general is more qualified, on the face of it, it might seem, and there was, I mean, just to one final point. When I saw that, then I went on Newsweek. There was a picture of all the heads of the special arm of the office of the armed forces, the Marines, the Navy, it was the only 2 minorities there in terms of gender and hue was General Brown, who is the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was let go, and the lady who was the director of personnel in the Navy. The rest, you guessed it, were chocolate chips. Sorry, white chocolate chips.
They need to stop faking this narrative and trying to make it seem like we are not up to par in our positions and in our education.
We're above par. It's not up to par. We're
way above it.
We're above par.
Way above it. Way above it. And I will scream that to the top of the mountain.
So John, let us find a takeaway from all of this. We need to stop begging for a seat at people's tables and start building our own damn tables. And that's the problem we have within our community. We're always trying to get validation. No, we can come together, build our own damn table with which they can't even compare, and keep it moving. Why is it that we are constantly clamoring to be in their spaces and then we turn around and complain when they treat us away? We get upset when them treat us away. No, okay, enough is enough. Create our own table, build our own tables, build our own doors, create our own spaces. And
I mean,
it's happening, moments.
Stop
Unfortunately,
begging, stop begging, man.
Unfortunately, we thought when they opened up certain doors for us that it was going to be on an equal.
You heard what you just said, when they opened doors.
When
for
they
us.
opened up, and yes, I mean that. When they opened up the doors for us, because we had this conversation with my family last night.
So
we went over the years. We went over the years. When different things from 20 something until we spoke about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't even been 50 years, and now everything is being rolled back.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought that we were going to have equality. That was the thought.
It's 2025, and we're still waiting for them to do it for us.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but you just said it. Waiting on them. You just said it, Ja.
No, you're saying that we're still waiting. I think a lot of people have shown us that they're not.
Okay.
There are so many people that have taken the steps to show that they can do this, or we can do this, right? Without them.
Okay.
So I yield.
You know, yesterday having a conversation with Marlon, everything that is happening right now had to happen. Everything happening right now is being allowed to happen for a reason. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are not learning from what's going on. There are a lot of people who are not understanding this is a time when everyone has to unite. Everything that is happening, it's not a surprise. God knew all of this was going to happen before it happened. And he has to allow certain things to happen to us to wake us up. Now that we're awake, what we're going to do. This did not come as a surprise to God. He knows. He knows the future. What are we going to do? Don Lemon is doing phenomenal. Joy Reid, she is going to be exponential. I see what you're saying. 80 says every time we start getting ahead, they destroy our progress. This time it's being done more quietly. Yes, I agree. But we are stronger. We're smarter. We are. Let us not be fooled. We're way more resourceful. We have the ability. We have the capability. We have the resources. We got this. We need to stop looking for validation from groups that look at us as being substandard, never good enough. And the reason they look at us as being substandard or not good enough is because they recognize our power. They recognize our strength. They recognize everything that's good about us. We just need to recognize it for ourselves and validate ourselves. That's all I'm asking for. I'll watch it, Ja. I'll watch it. But I'm watching it with a heavy heart because it's a shame what is happening. Yes, we'll take her out with a bang.
It is a shame. But like I always say, we don't die, we multiply.
You know, funny enough, yesterday having a conversation again Anything good takes long to get out there. Anything that is beneficial is a struggle to propel. Anything that serves the purpose of teaching and raising awareness is suppressed as much as they can. They try to silence however they can. Unfortunately. But yes, we multiply. And we don't give up. We cannot give up. Not at all. All right. Okay. Go right ahead. One more comment and then we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, morning.
Hey,
Yeah, I
James,
think
good morning.
morning. I think with all of this sign, because we always, start out good and then, take 3 steps backward and come back to this point. So I believe that this should be a wake-up call for African Americans to join force with the African Union and CARICOM, because like this year, the African Union and CARICOM, they're meeting about issues
Yeah.
that have to do with the Black diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that African American, and African American organization should have been a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're meeting in September or something like that. And because, there are a lot of African Americans that are thinking about investing in places like Ghana and stuff like that, no? So I think this should be a wake-up call that maybe you'll never be able to achieve the fullest in America, because every time from Black Wall Street, every time you made progress, something else happened. So why not, join with the African Union now, since we're at this stage now where Africa is moving away and taking, advantage of what is happening now, and, getting rid of their colonizers and taking, root of their own destiny. And the CARICOM is a part of that. Like Mia Motley was there a couple weeks ago, and like, trust me, like, I'm excited of the future in terms of Africa and the Caribbean and working together. So I think America should be a part of that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so thank you, James. Back to the article that we have not read yet. Caribbean leaders will invite US President Donald Trump to the region. Article courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. Caribbean community CARICOM leaders are seeking to invite US President Donald Trump to visit the region for discussions on US Caribbean relations. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown made the announcement on Friday. In addition, they plan to engage senior Trump administration officials as soon as practically possible. The CARICOM leaders convened a 3-day summit in Barbados beginning on Wednesday, where the Trump administration's policies and its impact on the Caribbean were discussed. We're hoping we are successful in inviting President Trump to the region. It's very important for him to pay some attention to the third border of the United States, also to enter meaningful discussions as to how U.S. policies impact the region, especially these smaller countries, Brown said. Many of us have open economies and we import up to 80% of what we consume, primarily from the United States. Stop the damn begging, man. Stop the begging. Stop the begging. Please. The only thing we have in the region is oil. And I don't know if it's enough to garner his attention or the attention of his current administration. I don't know. I'm tired of the begging. Forgive me. But that's how it seems to me. We're hoping we are successful in inviting him to the region. Carry on with your business. Carry on. Engage with other countries. I don't know. I guess I see things differently. And I'm hoping for us, the world, to wake up and move differently. I don't know. Go right ahead. Was that you, Mr. President?
Morning. I think it's a very good idea to talk to Trump. First of all, the people in Trump is the ones that at least get the most ideas across to him, and he listens. Not only that, the U.S. is a strategic partner for the Caribbean, for all of CARICOM. As you said, our food imports. So as the saying goes, if the U.S. sneeze, the Caribbean catch a cold.
Right.
So it is good to have dialogue. It is good to engage his top diplomat. It is good to literally put your ideas and policies on the table and see if you can influence what happened. Because either way, you're impacted. So it is better you meet and you air your grievances, you talk about relationships and so on, and also make them know that you're on their border also. So I think it's a very good idea because we cannot decouple. What's troubling though is the fact that we import 80% of
That is
food,
very troubling.
and it's very very troubling because I know under the Maurice Bishop-led regime in Grenada, I know food and food security was a big thing because I always link him and Sankara because there was a wrong during the same period of time. And if you look at how they changed the country, a small island as Grenada, over a 3-year period, it's amazing. There is no reason why the Caribbean should not be able to be self-sufficient as a region when it comes to food security, or at minimum supply more, a much larger percentage of their food. At least 50% of your food you should be able to produce easily in the Caribbean because we have a whole year we could plant. We have land in most cases. So I just think it's our policies and our approach that is bad. 80%.
Yeah.
So you could be starved by the outside, like easily without even a big effort. That's ridiculous.
Beyond ridiculous. Thank you, Mr. President. Go ahead,
Yeah.
James, and then we move on.
Yeah, I think he's going to go for whatever reason. But I think he's going to go to Jamaica or Guyana.
He
And
might go to Guyana.
no, I think he'll go to Jamaica or Guyana. Why I say Jamaica? Because of the Prime Minister, right? And I don't think it's any secret that the Jamaica Labour Party is the party in Jamaica that's very friendly to America, right? Like they don't really get along with the People's National Party from Michael Manley days. So I think the Jamaica Labour Party is soft when it comes on to the U.S. administration. And if you realize that the last time Trump was in the White House, just Google some picture and you'll see the leaders that he met with and the ones that were left out. So that is the thing. I think they'll go, but it's who's going to be at the table with them. They're going to leave out Ralph Gonzalez from St. Vincent, and they're going to leave out Mayor Motley. So that's the only problem. Who's going to be at the table? But I think he'll go.
On a point of correction, James, not the people he met with, the 5 leaders that went behind Carrie come back and meet with him secretly.
Yes.
All right. You want to put some? Do we want to put a bet $5 to $5 bets on it?
I'm willing to bet some money. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go.
Well,
I see Jamaica and Guyana, because Guyana have oil now. So Trump definitely will look to try to exploit the oil in Guyana. Grenada have oil, but we just starting to find it. And Jamaica, because Jamaica consider themselves the 54th state or the 55th, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Ouch! Yeah. Ouch!
Yeah, because I'm still trying to figure out the call between Andrew Holness and Marco Rubio. It just don't make any sense. Like the only way it makes sense is if Andrew Holness is making some deal behind our back to accept illegal immigrants, but it just don't make sense. And I saw a picture with them online sitting down together, so I don't know when they met in person to sit down and take that picture, and then the phone call. It just, because everything that they said that they discussed, when you listen CARICOM, is a opposite. It's a different story because following the CARICOM meeting that's going on over last week, it's very evident that the U.S. government is not taking any questions or anything about helping the Caribbean to secure guns from coming into the Caribbean. They're not interested in that. There's no conversation happening about that. But yet still Marco Rubio met with Andrew Holness and said that they're talking about strengthening ties, bilateral relationship between strengthening security and stuff like that. So I'm like, but CARICOM, in CARICOM, they're saying that no, there's no conversation going on. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a mixed bag of story and it just don't make any sense. So they're probably making a deal behind the back. You might see some Venezuelan in Jamaica soon.
All right, we got to keep it moving. Thank you, everyone. We do have a few more stories to get through, so let's keep the ball rolling. Next up, CAF and Barbados sign US $75 million. I'm sorry, let me reread that. CAF and Barbados signed $75 million US agreement to boost tourism development. This article comes to us courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. The Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean and the government of Barbados have finalized the US $75 million financing agreement aimed at advancing cultural heritage preservation, tourism, and the modernization of related infrastructure. The agreement was signed by Barbados' Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Mottley, and Sergio Diaz-Granados, who is the executive president of CAF, during the 48th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting that was held in Barbados. Now, this financing will support the expansion of heritage tourism, an essential part of Barbados' national development strategy. It will fund key projects under the Reclaiming Our Atlantic Destiny Road program, which seeks to strengthen the Caribbean's connection to its history, promote a deeper understanding of the past, and foster a more equitable and prosperous future for Barbadians. A lot of loan agreements have been signed off on recently, no? With Barbados? Okay.
Yeah, but CAF is one of the leading institutes. It's between CAF and the Caribbean Development Bank. And I think you see there's a push from CAF to try to fund more projects in the region. I think the terms, they're usually reasonable in scope.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a bad idea to go to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not too bad. Okay. We'll keep an eye on that. Thank you, Mr. President. All right. Next up, we have the St. Lucia Times, our next stories where we get our next. What am I saying? Our next article comes out of St. Lucia Times. ECCB says commemorative Grenada banknote is legal tender. So let me put this headline on YouTube. Okay, so let's get into this. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, has advised that the Grenada $50 banknote is legal tender and useful for any standard and over-the-counter business transaction across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The ECCB noted that it collaborated with the Grenada government to issue the banknote in July 2024 to commemorate Grenada's 50th independence anniversary. While the note was issued exclusively in Grenada, it can be used in any of the 8 ECCB member countries: Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Christopher, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All right, so if you're in any of those countries, you can use the Grenada $50 banknote. Go right ahead, Mr. President.
Yeah, I think that was a really good move by the ECCB to issue that. Actually, a lot of people was keeping it as a keepsake because it's Morris Bishop. There one in Eric Gary too, who was the father of independence, but the Morris Bishop one definitely people was holding like something special. And I think it's good to see Morris' face on the bill to tell you the truth.
You feel
'Cause
proud, not sure. I love it,
yeah,
not sure.
every time I look at Morris, and I always link he and Sankara to Thomas Sankara together. They were visionaries,
Right.
and you could forget about the politics or whatever, but a lot of the policies is still applicable today, and these guys was years ahead of themselves. And oftentimes we get clouded and sidetracked. But if you look at a lot of the policies, we could implement a lot of them still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Up next, what's our next article? We can close this one out. Dangote. His name has been circulating a whole lot more recently. It's as though there's a competition. But you know what? I don't mind seeing his name. Let me put it that way. I really don't mind seeing his name at all. Go ahead, Mr. President.
I think as a strategic move, I think for Dangote trying to expand his footprint,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not too impressed about going to the West.
Right.
So I think to him the next natural pivot is the Caribbean in the diaspora. And he probably see opportunities that are there that he could take advantage of, that he's trying to leverage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this article. Local news. Um, Dangote calls for easier Caribbean access for African travelers. And I think that's a conversation we've had here too. According to the new today Grenada.com, Aliko Dangote, who is Nigeria's richest businessman, did not mince words about Grenada's current visa system, urging the island and other nations within the Caribbean community, CARICOM, to scrap the traditional embassy-based visa requirement for African travelers in favor of a streamlined online system or visa on arrival. He was speaking at the inaugural Independence Fireside Chat with Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, and Dangote argued that replacing the old cumbersome process with an online or visa on arrival system could be a real game changer. As a matter of fact, if you remove the visa requirement and make it visa on arrival, I can tell, I can tell you that all the CARICOM economy can double because you will see a massive inflow of people coming. I agree. Dangote, who is the founder of the financially thriving Dangote Group, traveled to the island as a special guest of Prime Minister. Hold on, Adesoji, why the emoji? But anyway, he traveled to the island as a special guest of Prime Minister Mitchell to commemorate Grenada's 51st independence celebrations. He described the current advanced passport visa process as archaic, stating that the system should be simple and in line with modern technologies used for easy online processing. Your mainstay is tourism. If the visa is difficult, how do you expect to have people visiting your nation? Go ahead, Adesoji. Go ahead before you have to go to class. Go ahead.
No, I'm just I mean, it's boggling that yes, he's a black guy, but he's a capitalist. These guys don't really care for you. They'll exploit you. He's getting cozy up to capital. It's like you guys don't really know what you're dealing with. This guy will come in, underscore your industries, wreck them out, and then monopolize. He's a monopolist.
So you're saying he's no different from the West?
He's no different
He
from
uses
them.
the
He's
same
just
playbook?
it's just a black face. It's just a black face on their ideas.
That does sound good at all.
No, I'm sorry. It's just like anytime you mention the guy's name, it's like, oh god, here we go. What has he said now? And it's not like he's saying anything profound.
Mhm.
We've talked about opening up our continent, Africa, the Caribbean, to making it visa free. What has he just said now? Is it profound? No, please. Come
He
on.
said what we've been saying for the longest while here on
Yeah, exactly. So you
Doesn't
might
take
as well,
doesn't take the richest man in Africa.
Exactly. So for you, for a fireside chat about what? About what? About what?
Did they have chocolate and marshmallows with graham crackers?
No,
Well,
but
he seemed to be very close with the current Grenada Prime Minister, because I know the PM had visited Nigeria and his facilities and stuff, and then he came back for the independence celebration, which is a big deal
Mhm.
as an honored guest. So whatever is happening, he seems very close to the or close enough to the current prime minister.
Okay. All right. Next up. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, but Adesoji, don't you think like people like Dangote have to be involved if the Caribbean and Africa we're going to make any real progress in terms of connecting? Um, because it's obvious that when you watch I don't know if you guys watch Myanmar the presentation at the African Union, but it's very obvious that like everybody, people are excited about the connection, about Africa and the Caribbean connecting. And I think the conference that's coming up is going to be the second one, because the one was held before and then COVID threw off everything. So I think it's going to be the second one. African Caribbean CARICOM conference. I think it's going to be held in Ethiopia. I think I can't remember, but it's obvious that the excitement is there. And I believe that in order for it to happen, you're going to need the people with deep pockets to kind of bypass these American billionaires, and to show them like, okay, African and Caribbean people, investors, billionaires can do this without them. So you don't think, despite what you think about him as being a capitalist, do you think his contribution could be important to the connection?
I understand the sentiments. I understand the role capital can play, but the connection that we need to build is the kind of connections we're having here, week in, week out, so over a couple of years, right? That's the kind of connection we need to build. Connection that you go to your place of work, you speak to someone from the continent, you introduce yourself. That's the kind of connections. You get married, you date, you fall out, you resolve issues, you speak frankly. Those are the kind. Top-down connections are only that. They're top-down. The reason why I balk at this guy's involvement is not because of who he is. It's because I know what he represents. This guy is an exploiter. They're not coming there because they love you. They're coming there because they love their money more than you. If their money is not going to multiply 100, then they don't care. So the faster we understand that aspect of it, yes, they might come, but let's not send to them. That's the thing. Let's not send to them. We just talked about Joy Reid earlier.
Mhm.
And why does that register? Joy Reid represents an organization. That organization clearly doesn't like you, but they have somebody that looks like you to talk to you. Yeah, that is what Dangote represents. Someone who is not of you, but looks like you to speak to you. Yeah, if you know the kind of industry these guys are wrecked in Nigeria alone, my God, your eyes will water. So it's nice that he's running a refinery. That refinery too is having troubles at the moment because for some reason his backers have decided they want it all. And we're going to find out. So, again, it's interesting. But, it's Dangote, it's the name. I mean, did he not say he wanted to buy Arsenal Football Club? I wonder how that is going. I yield.
What I can see, James is correct. In the African Caribbean Summit that is happening coming up, that will be the most impactful so far, and there's a lot of excitement, and I think it's a step in the right direction. As it come to Dangote, I think we have to do the same thing we talk about when we do the Chinese and everybody else. If you're going to invest, fine, as long as the terms and condition is favorable for the country and you're not coming because you're black don't mean you come and Jakarta or I the same way. And we're gonna say at least, well, we getting your money.
That's a low blow. Bringing in the Chinese, that is a low blow.
No, what I'm saying, why I said the Chinese is that sometimes the Chinese are good, but oftentimes it's the contracts we sign with them and they would hold you to it. And I presume he will do the same. So the onus is on us to make sure that we have good contract that is properly vetted, that is in the interest of everyone. Of course, this putting in your money, you need a return on your capital, but also we cannot continue to go to the table hat in hand, think we're begging and we need everything. The reason why they're coming is because we have something they need. Nobody comes to invest in your country for fun. So we have to bear that in mind every time we sign a contract. And then it's good. But I see the connection is very, very good between Africa and the region.
All right, so let's keep it moving. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, no need to rush. Finance Secretary says all Guyanese will receive their cash grant. This article courtesy of GhanaChronicle.com. All registered Guyanese aged 18 and older will receive their Guyanese $100,000 cash grant, and Finance Secretary Pasha has urged citizens not to rush to distribution centers. Speaking to the Ghana Chronicle on Friday, Pasha emphasized that there was no need for large crowds, stating, "We don't want people to endure any stress. There is no need to panic. Every eligible beneficiary will receive his or her cash grant." By the end of Friday, the Finance Ministry expects to distribute approximately 260,000 checks with distribution centers operating in all coastal regions. Pasha assured the public that checks will be available from now through early March, with centers remaining open for those who have yet to uplift their checks. Officials in various areas have already begun notifying individuals to collect their checks from designated centers. All right, my Ghanese people, no need to worry, no need to fret. Your money is safe, secure, and guaranteed. Sure. All right, go ahead, James. Make it quick because we have a lot of stories we're running behind.
Yeah, no, that's funny because I'm getting a lot of messages from people in Ghana, and they're saying before you continue praising this guy Ali, just remember that the government is corrupt, and they're bringing up this check because it's months now that they talk about this check going out and it's not out yet. So I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna have to sit back and watch. Maybe they're right about the corruption. I don't know.
James, show me one country that doesn't have some level of corruption in their government. Name one. I'm waiting. Name one country.
The check should have been out though, because like our government in Canada, the two level of government announced check way after Guyana announced theirs, and we get our check and spend it a long time. So they need to, if you promise the people something, find a way to get it to them in a reasonable time. It don't look good. It don't look good. It's months though. It's about 4 months.
But
it's a long time.
Coordinate and make sure so they have it fraud proof.
Moments are just is what 800 like over 30 million people, over 40 million people in Canada got their check within like a month from two different levels of government. People get them check, and it's just 800,000 people. Them can, if the even if you get some people from the office and get them the cash and still walk and get the people, and them that get the money long time.
In our next article, founder of Haiti Orphanage, Michael Gielenfeld, convicted in U.S. court of abusing minors. Article courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. A jury in Miami has convicted Michael Gielenfeld, the founder of an orphanage in Haiti, of essaying boys at his facility in Port-au-Prince. Court records reveal that the 73-year-old was found guilty Thursday night on 6 counts of engaging in illicit behavior with minors in a foreign country, as well as 1 count of traveling from Miami to Haiti for that illegal purpose. He faces a sentence of up to 30 years in prison on each charge, with his sentencing set for May 5 before U.S. District Judge David Leibowitz. The trial featured testimony from 6 Haitian men who claimed they were abused while living at the St. Joseph's Home for Boys between 2005 and 2010. The victims, now in their 20s, were between 9 and 13 years old at the time of the abuse. He founded the orphanage in 1985, pleaded not guilty to the charges. The St. Joseph's Home, one of several orphanages that he operated in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, was shut down in 2014. Well, you do your crime, brethren. You have to face the time. Come on now. Come on. Next up, 3 teenage boys have been charged with rape. This one, courtesy of JamaicaObserver.com, and this stems back to an article that came up, I think it was last year, with the young girl. And it pained my heart to see people victim blaming. Victim blaming. Something is wrong with us. According to Jamaica Observer, 3 teenage boys have been slapped with 7 charges, including rape, following the assault of a 16-year-old girl in St. Catherine last year. The suspects are ages 15, 16, and 17. Reports from the Old Harbour Police are that the complainant, one of the teenage boys who were friends, met at about 1:25 p.m. on Monday, February 12, 2024, and it was this year? Hold on a second. Reports from the Old Harbour Police are that, no man, this is the one from last year. Honestly, this is a different one. Hold on there. Anyway, let me read the story. Reports from the Old Harbour Police are that the complainant and one of the teenage boys who were friends met at about 1:25 p.m. on Monday, February 12, and made the decision to visit his home. When she got to the house, the 2 other boys were seen. The boys then allegedly locked the complainant inside the residence and essayed her. The girl later made a report to the police and an investigation was launched. On Friday, lawmen made a breakthrough in the case and all the boys were apprehended. They were subsequently charged with rape, grievous essay, unlawful detention, to have intercourse, unlawful detention, to commit grievous essay, indecent assault, attempted rape, aiding and abetting. The court date is to be finalized for them. Why did I thought this is a new case. I thought this was one that happened. Wasn't it last year in December, there about the latter part of last year? So this is a new one. 15, 16, and 17 years old. Who teaching them these things? Why them think it's okay to do these things? Come on, young men in Jamaica, you got to do better. Your parents are teach you for respect a fellow human being, whether male or female. Your parents don't teach you that women are to be protected, young girls are to be protected. I have a few choice words, but you see, I'm on air. It's the bottom of the hour. Let me keep it moving. This next article, courtesy of the JamaicaGleaner.com, over 4,000 Jamaicans have yet to collect their $20,000 disbursement from the government under the Reverse Income Tax Credit Initiative. I have put a link for this one on the coffeeinto.com website. When you go there, just head on over to the tab that says Resources, and it's right there, Reverse Income Tax Credit. Your claim deadline is Friday, March 7. Again, your claim deadline for the reverse income tax credit is Friday, March 7. The link is on the coffeeinto.com website. All right, let's go ahead and read the rest of the article. Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ, says the funds were disturbed or distributed to remittance agencies. Okay. TAJ says these 4,171 individuals have until Friday, March 7 to claim the funds, or the money will be returned to the government. People go for the money. Okay. All right. Beneficiaries are reminded that they must present a valid government-issued identification and the transaction number sent to them via text or email when they were notified of the disbursement's availability. To date, the TAJ states that the government has disbursed $6.9 billion in one-time tax giveback payments to 346,085 eligible individuals since the initiative's implementation in October 2024. Although applications are now closed, taxpayers can still access the reverse income tax credit hub, which is on the TAJ portal at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. This allows them to track their application status or find relevant information, including frequently asked questions. The website again, jamaicatax.gov.jm, or to make it easier for you, head on over to Coffee and Toes website, go to the resources page and click the link that is there for you. Additionally, you can seek support by calling 888 tax back, that is 888 tax back, or 888-829-2225. That's 888-829-2225, 888-829-2225. All right. Or you can email them at taxback@taj.gov.jm. So the final payments are scheduled for March 7th, folks. Do not let the money go back to the people then. Go get no money. All right. Moving right along. Next up, Prime Minister sounds alarm on pandemic of gang crime involving young men. St. Lucia, you're too small for this. Come on, young people. You can't have the population of 4,000 people. I'm not gonna have so much crime down there. Come on, we can do better, St. Lucia. We can do better. According to stluciatimes.com, as St. Lucia marked. Oh, by the way, Geely, let me tell you something. Happy Monday. I met your twin yesterday. You need to ask your parents if you have a twin, that or if they were in Cuba at some time and left a child there in Cuba. Met a young lady yesterday, last night, and you're about the same height. That's your twin. She's Cuban. The first thing that caught my eye was her smile and then her mannerism. No lie. I smile. Her mannerism. I was like, hold on a second. There's something very familiar about this young lady. The way she tilts her head when she's speaking, her smile, the way she walk. Ask your parents, Julie, if you have a Julie said, I wouldn't be surprised my father was something else. She is the Cuban version of Julie. As a matter of fact, if you take her, put her in her St. Lucia, you would know she's Cuban. You really would know. Yes. What's up, Adesoji? What happened? What you want, Adesoji? Aren't you supposed to be getting ready for class? But I tell you, I was like, no, man, something is really familiar. They're about the same height, they're about the same complexion, them voice very similar, the way them smile. It was, I was like, no, this is crazy. That's we all have a twin out there, but I think you need to talk to your father, Julie, see if he was in Cuba at any time around the same time.
A proper revolutionary.
Julie, that she's your twin. So of course, no, man. Next time I go back, hopefully we go at night when she's working the shift. That shift.
A revolutionary version.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. It was like us we were talking to Julie, just the Cuban version of Julie. It was wow. Yeah. Talk to your father, Julie. You might have a sister out there in Cuba. He was busy island hopping. But anyway, as St. Lucia marks its 46th anniversary of independence, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has expressed deep concern over the growing involvement of young men in crime and acknowledged the need for intensified efforts to tackle rising crime, particularly gang violence. Speaking at the St. Lucia Community of Barbados Independence Awards ceremony at the 3Ws Oval at the Cave Hill campus of the UWI, Pierre highlighted the nation's economic progress. However, he also expressed alarm about the path some young men were taking, despite the opportunities available for them to better themselves. He was particularly concerned about the alarming trend of young men turning to gangs and violence. We are very concerned about what's happening to our young men at the educational level. Our girls are doing much better than our young men at school, acknowledging that there have been some improvements in that regard. We want to expand on that rich intellect that is in St. Lucia, but to do that, we have to deal with a growing problem of crime, particularly gun crime. The Prime Minister warned that gang related killings had reached crisis levels, with the vast majority of last year's homicides linked to gang activity. To address the issue, Pierre pointed to ongoing social intervention initiatives, but acknowledged that more needs to be done. Come on, St. Lucia. I'm gonna look a bit too small for that. Little bit too small for that. All right. Young men, I'm not sure what it is that is so appealing, and this is not just in St. Lucia, it's across the Caribbean. I'm not sure what the appeal is for one to indulge in a life of crime, especially considering that opportunities are available. Many of these opportunities come at zero cost. All it needs is an investment of your time. That's it. Invest your time in making your lives better. As Junior Gong says in his song, if you want some good life, finally get out of the old crime time, the crime lobby, finally. So you're gonna have to make a decision. Do you want to live to your full potential, to see all the years afforded to you, or you want to cut your life short? Cutting your life short physically or literally, figuratively speaking, or literally. You want to end up in a jail or you want to end up dead? Which one? And many of you are so brilliant. Go right ahead.
Oh, I was saying them not made it the way they in a moment.
What? It's bad. It's bad.
Them not really made it the way they. And you see it, well, for me, I kind of see it so evident because, you know, even going back to Jamaica last year, and just, you know, just kind of observing the body language and, you know, the day-to-day and thing. The man, them, I mean, for the most part, I mean, for one, they want to do what is convenient for them, fast pace. You know, some of them can essentially get right away. You know, the whole thing about you know, trying to achieve or get what you need, you know, the traditional way, you know, that's not enough for them thing that, you know, and that's pretty much, you know, why you have you know, increase gang related, right, crimes throughout the Caribbean. You know, and I think, sad to say, I think, you know, majority really stem from Jamaica. Because what tends to happen is that when, you know, for the most part, when things essentially, when Jamaica try, you know, as best as possible for kind of de-escalate, you know, certain crime-related, you know, matters or anything like that, what tends to happen is that them start to migrate, right? So them start to migrate and them go to the closest neighboring Caribbean island, or them go to the furthest, right? I was reading an article the other day, and was to my surprise, they went as far. Some people or some you know, gang member or members leave Jamaica and went as far as Belize. You understand? And then I start cause issues in a Belize. You understand? So, you know, so going back to the origination or the stem of it, or the root of it, is the fact that, you know, for them say, yo, especially, you know, the whole thing about with the scamming thing and, you know, all them things, they see how quick them can get that money, right? So for them now, say, boy, you know, me go and, boy, would I go back to school or do a little trade here or whatever. Them not see that way there. Them not see that way there at all. For them see that way there, it's going to take like a real shift, a cultural shift, right? Especially, you know, it's consistently promoted in the music and the culture and them things, right? So for them, it's like, you know, them basically that's their tradition. That's their norm. Like it becomes their norm now, and as we say, it becomes a ripple effect, right, in all of the other Caribbean countries, neighboring and far, right? If you go in a Trinidad, the same exact thing. When you preach Trinidad at one point, some of the articles may read out of Trinidad and me I wonder if a Jamaica may read, because it's the same thing, right? So now, you talk about little Saint Lucia, same thing, right? It just take a little while for everything just kind of trickle down to, you know, the smaller countries, them where, you know, where you never hear about crime as much, but the level of influence, when me strongly believe that Jamaica have upon like the other Caribbean countries, right, affect how crime continue to escalate over a period of time, right? Because again, you have the migration, Jamaicans criminal left, right, and go somewhere else and do the same thing, right? And of course, the influence again in the music. So boy, may I tell you, not that, you know, a 1 and 2 or 3 with the hope that, you know, a mass group of them kind of understand, but boy, Michelle.
So, Presley, you really think, boy, when I'm listening to you, you know, you make it sound like, boy, we are the, yeah, what you call it, the ringleader, like Jamaica.
We are.
That does sound good at all.
No, it don't sound good, but at the reality, you know, sound good, but that's the reality.
As if the president giving you a thumbs up, he's agreeing with you. No, that person.
No, that's the reality. Listen, we set the, like, when the impact of Jamaican culture in some of the other in the other Caribbean countries, right? I mean, you would literally go to a country, right, a Caribbean country, another Caribbean country outside of Jamaica, and at some point in time, outside of course, you know, the dialect, right, and some of the lingos, right, of course, it's going to be a little bit different, but in terms of the cultural norm, especially with the whole quote-unquote bad man mentality and the gang and the rude boy and the this and the that, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You understand? It's the same thing. It's like they're just copycats, right? So really and truly, and as I said, the level of influence that some of them, because listen, not go, but like I would literally like watch certain say for example certain YouTube travel vloggers or whatever them call themselves, right? And they would basically go to some of these other Caribbean countries, right? And say for example they go into some of the ghettos, right, or inner cities, right? And the exact, sometimes if I look into me and say, yo, Jamaica this, because it look and the culture, everything is exact replica of Jamaica. No joke. No joke whatsoever. Right? Trinidad is almost like, I mean, in terms of from that perspective, right, or from that point of view, Trinidad is almost like I say, a little Jamaica in the sense of that cultural type of norm where gangs and the criminal activities are concerned, right? The exact replica.
That's a shame.
Right?
So President, let me jump to the chat real quick. So Julie put here, everybody wants to be a gunman. At least they're killing each other. The place is still safe for tourists. Sad but true. Also, Julie said it's not, it was called, hold on, fan base, can we have some? Prezzy's right. Back in the day, the biggest crime boss in St. Lucia was a Trinidadian. The place didn't cool down until they took him out. It was called Operation Restore Justice. There was a special unit taking all the crime bosses out. The place got sweet again until recently with the influx, of guns. This is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
This is a shame. Real shame. Oh boy. Well, do what in
Yeah.
a must to clean up in a country. Go ahead, James, and then we move on.
Yeah, I think, what I observed traveling across the Caribbean, the culture of the entire Caribbean, especially the smaller islands, is a combination of Jamaica and Trinidad. Like you go all the different islands and you
Hey,
see.
what did you say? Double down for the little Jamaica, man.
No, but it's true though, because for example, the emergence of like squash and with Vibes Cartel and stuff like that. I go to St. Vincent and I don't know the name of what they call it, but they have like a trap type of dancehall music there in Barbados and in St. Vincent, and it's a mixture of calypso, like almost like calypso meet trap dancehall,
I've heard it.
meet trap dancehall, and the content of the lyrics.
It's
As I
back.
say, like I was in the bus with my kids in Barbados, and it's like a porn thing playing, and it's like the trap dancehall calypso type of music, like just a weird mashup of music. And when you look at the guys, you walking in Barbados, walking in St. Vincent, every block you go, you see a cartel. You walk down the next block, you see like a squash, and it's just crazy. So, yeah, the culture, Trinidad and Jamaica really have an impact on the entire Caribbean in terms of culturally. And then the thing with the Caribbean is that, and I think the United Nations pointed it out, that the Caribbean region have like a problem with relationships. So like we score like the highest in terms of like 15-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls getting pregnant for like grown men and stuff like that. And that is a problem. And fatherless homes and the Caribbean score very high when you compare to Africa and Europe and Asia. So that's another problem.
Boy, that's a whole other conversation for another day, James. A whole other conversation for another day. But talking about Jamaica and Trinidad, let's head on over to Trinidad for our next article, where Trinidad police recover 600 military-grade ammunition in Cuba. This article courtesy of CaribbeanNationalWeekly.com. Police from the Trinidad Police Service uncovered 600 rounds of military-grade ammunition after an overnight stakeout at an empty lot in Cuba, though no arrests were made. Among the recovered items, officers found 40 tracer rounds of 5.56 ammunition, commonly used by the military due to their pyrotechnic charge, which allows shooters to track the bullet's path, close and skirt. What am I doing this funny road? These tracer rounds, along with the rest of the ammunition, were identified as Israeli type 5.56 rounds, known for their precision and armor-piercing capability. The ammunition was found in a black plastic bag inside a bucket containing 3 bandoliers, each with 160 rounds of 5.56 ammunition, along with the 40 tracer rounds. The operation was carried out by officers from the Southern Division Task Force who surveyed the location from 10 a.m. Thursday until 4 a.m. on Friday. Despite the extensive surveillance, no suspects were apprehended. The ammunition was later taken to the Marabella police station for safekeeping. Oh, by the way, last week, I don't think we spoke about this one, Nancy, but I did see the article. The National Security Minister, Fitzgerald Hines, confirmed that an investigation is underway into the disappearance of more than 25,000 rounds of 5.56 ammunition from the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, the main ground force of the country's defense force. Listen, this is just utter madness. Utter madness. Go right ahead, Mr. President.
As it stands moments, Trinidad and Jamaica is ungovernable when it comes to crime.
So what wrong with we, so Mr. President?
It's just a gun culture. Going to Jamaica back in the day and Jamaica now is two different things.
So,
If you look at Grenada Carnival, for instance, the reason why you have so much trainees now is because they're saying they could come to Grenada, enjoy themselves, don't worry about crime and all this nonsense, and go back home. And there are some people that comes to Grenada now that stop partake in Trinidad Carnival the way they used to. We are this big, and St. Lucia is right on their heels. Even little St. Kitts is getting really, it's bad. St. Vincent is picking up. Fortunately, we haven't gotten there yet. And thankfully, and I hope we continue to snitch on all the crimes that are going in Grenada. Because when you commit crime, the community come and report you, and yeah, they don't tolerate it like that. So we don't want to get into that culture. But unless as a region and as countries we attack it, go on the attack, we cannot continue to play defense. We have to have an operation cleanup in the region where we literally target these gangs and stuff. Because they're disrupting the countries, and they're not a majority. They're a minority. It's a small minority of the country, but they're ripping havoc on everybody. And it's time we set a precedent and go after them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take them on. They cannot continue to allow them. Yes, when Duterte did it in Philippines and in certain places, people accuse you of being dictator and all this stuff like that, because that is what they will do. Because the same people who is sending the guns to your countries to disrupt it, and the same people who are deporting the criminals after years and have no connection to your countries, these are the same ones that come with Human Rights Watch and all that nonsense and talk about, oh, it's abuse and abuse. And abuse do happen, don't get me wrong. But unless we take drastic steps, we will not. Look at St. Lucia. St. Lucia of all places. Come on. You know how nice and peaceful St. Lucia used to be? Right now, every time you turn, some gang here, some gang, and they're going to kill one another for now. But what happened? Eventually, it will spill over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to get rid of it now.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a very low tolerance for a minority disrupting the entire population. Very, very low. If you have to kill them all, kill them all. I have a very, very low tolerance for that.
Yeah. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
man, I agree on. Sorry.
No, I never move on.
No, I was saying I agree 100%. With Mr. President, in terms of just that minority, it's just a small handful of them, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a handful of them, right? But them are wreak havoc in such a way where it just seems as if, boy, it's just a mass of them, right?
Yeah.
But that's why sometimes when I hear, the US issue travel advisory for Jamaican area and make it seem as if, whole of Jamaica, crime are ripped through. No, you understand? That's a small pocket of them, right? There's a one little concentrated area. You understand? But what? Them are reap havoc to the point whereby it just seems as if the magnitude of it just seems so enormous to the point whereby some people feel like them just lose hope to the point whereby, no, sir, that's something I told the big.
Enough is enough, Percy. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Oh, all right. Let us close out the Caribbean Corner with this last article, which is in our segment, Compa Veranda, Mek Wita. Data shows women are most violent toward children, according to Capri. This one, courtesy of Nationwide Radio JM. Violence against children is the most prevalent form of domestic violence perpetrated by women in Jamaica. At least 80% of children experience violence at home. That's according to a recent study from the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri. The study, titled Hits and Misses: Women in Organized Violence, identifies a range of roles women play in interpersonal and domestic violence. Here is Robian Williams with more in this report. Let's take a listen.
According to Capri, women's involvement in domestic violence encompasses various forms of family-related violence, including intimate partner violence, child abuse, sibling conflicts, and certain types of gender-based violence. These observations, Capri says, highlights that women's violent crimes are typically driven by emotional and personal factors rather than systemic or organized violence. Such physical violence often includes stabbing, stone throwing, or the use of blunt objects and is frequently linked to personal grievances or crimes of passion. Capri adds that in cases where domestic or intimate partner violence intersects with sexual competition or conflicts over romantic partners, violent confrontations may arise, including assaults against the rival. Capri points to a tragic example in June 2023 when 8-year-old Danielle Rowe was fatally attacked. Danielle was attacked in retaliation for her father's alleged transmission of HIV to the perpetrator, Coyote Satchel. Satchel pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison in December 2024 with eligibility for parole after 27 years and 4 months. The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF Domestic Violence Intervention Unit is currently on a month-long cross-country tour as part of its ongoing effort to combat domestic violence and raise awareness across communities. The JCF says the tour is meant to educate, engage, and empower citizens on identifying and preventing domestic violence. Director of Hear the Children's Cry, Nigel Cooper, says he's not surprised that more women than men are carrying out disciplinary roles in the home.
When we look at the fact that based on the 2021 Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions study that 39% of households are headed by single females in Jamaica. And when we see from our counselors at Hear the Children's Cry, we do find that the mothers, because there's an absenteeism of male figures, do have to take on the role of disciplining their children. For me, the challenge I have with Capri is what would they define as violence? Because if you're disciplining your child, does that constitute abuse? Does that constitute violence? So that is the concern. But I'm not surprised that because of the absenteeism of fathers, that women have to discipline.
Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
Wow. Wow. In 2023, 8,500 cases of domestic violence were reported. Capri says Jamaica has 12,000 cases reported annually. In 2022, there was a peak of over 15,000 cases of child abuse. How do we fix this? How do we address this? I know I'm frozen on fan base, so I'm not sure if anybody's hearing me over there on fan base.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Okay, good. Thank you, Percy. But wait, this is an issue. Oh, this is a serious problem. Now, how do we differentiate abuse and discipline? That's the first step. What constitutes abuse? Because what may be discipline to one person may be looked at as abuse to another. And remember, abuse is not just physical. However, I think in this case, it's physical. I'm going to assume. Is slapping a child considered abuse versus taking up one piece of, I mean, would you consider slapping a child abuse with your hands abuse? When you compare that with somebody who would take up one hose, one machete, one piece of wood, anything them fine and lick you.
I think Jamaicans parents, in a sense, depending on, who they are, them based on what their upbringing was, I think a lot of people, even from experience, they have unresolved issues, and in having a child and you have some unresolved issues, especially you as a child that has some level of unresolved issues. Most Jamaicans, when I observe, them tend to take it out on them pitney, right? Them not really try for deal with whatever unresolved issues that them have. So as a result, them take it out on them pitney. So then know what start for means that them just go overdo the supposedly reprimanding your child, right? So if your child is something simple and I mean, just something simple, you understand? It's like, you know, a switch flip, you understand?
Right.
And like, based on that switch they were flip now, right? You just carry out just as how you flip the switch. It's like, you know, you never think. So that's why when people use wars and them something there and mere stories, say, you know, people are liquid pot cover, Dutch pot cover, and you understand them thing. I mean, that's normal. You understand? I mean, you can liquid your hand and a belt, but like, you know, anything that can cause bodily harm, you understand? Because, I mean, one mistake you can lick a child or lick a picnic in them head, right? And then, you know, me hear enough, you know, parents will grow up on them something there and I say, yeah, and would make certain statements like, you never did.
Yeah, true.
Yes, and I look at it and I say, what?
But, President, let me ask a question. On a serious note, though, many of us, our age group, we used to get to ask, tear up for some foolishness still enough. If you ask me, I want to believe that 95% of Jamaicans are traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, at the same time, will say, is that trauma keep us out of trouble? Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that make we think twice? Because we remember the lick that our mother used to give away. And I remember coming across a story once where the child said, and it says, this was a teenager, don't keep me at the police station. Don't send me home because if you send me, my mother will kill me.
Mm-hmm. Murder.
It's our culture.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a cultural shift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, when we talk about, there are so many stress factors. And yes, as parents, we have to do a better job, whether it's physical abuse or mental abuse, emotional abuse. We have to do better. We cannot take out our frustrations upon the children. They pity them innocent. The man left you another pity fault.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we take it out on the picnic. If we lose our job, another pity fault. We have to check ourselves as parents. God, I don't know. I don't know if it's unique to Jamaica, if it's something that happens across the Caribbean.
I mean, the Caribbean way of disciplining children is something that all of us go through. But what I think is missing is social intervention programs. You understand? That is what is really missing right now. And before, we have a lot of those social intervention programs that was built into the community. So there was groups, organizations, be it informal. Remember, we had the extended family.
Mm-hmm.
So our grandparents always intervene, our great-grandparents. If somebody really was outside, doing something outlandish in the community, the elders in the community as a whole will call them in and counsel them and stuff. So what we have done, we have relinquished that structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so people also in those structures was the support. Because if you didn't have a little food for your children, you could have go by the neighbor and get a little something. You understand? When you have a little stress, everybody kind of share in the stress. So because we don't have that now, everybody's left to fend on their own. And not everybody could deal with the stress, especially with most of us don't know what it called therapy or any kind of counseling or any, as Percy say, we're still dealing with our own traumas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we have to fix that, that is linked with the crime and everything else too. We have to bring back social interaction programs and leadership responsibilities from within the community, not just politicians from within the community, to provide the checks and balances for the society to function normally. Mm-hmm. We need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and the president was made a point that I was about to make in terms of the correlation with crime and violence.
So are we teaching our children to be violent from an early age?
Yeah.
Go ahead, James. Go right ahead.
Yeah. The thing is, my issue with Jamaica is that I think the last set of leaders that brought in social interventions was like from the 70s, early 80s. I have not seen any leader in Jamaica since that. Like back in those days, we used to have like community centers where you could go and skate, or you could go um, get some food if you're hungry. And the church used to play a more active part back in the days. Like I remember, like as a child, we used to go to church because not because we love the Lord, but because we get the best breakfast on Sunday at church. And yeah, and so unfortunately, those social programs, none of the leaders in the past 40 to 50 years have brought in anything new. Like they are just intent on shooting the criminals. But the thing is, like, you shoot one and two more born the next day. And that's not gonna work. We need social intervention to fix things, because if you realize every single problem in the Caribbean now is coming out of that. The fact that there are no fathers around, like all the fathers are no, like when I when I was growing up, I think my entire time in school, I probably know about two or three people that was in my class, a class of 50. About two people in that class would have like a father and a mother that they know. Not like a perfect situation, but they know them father and their mother. Like everybody else, don't know them father. So that has to be fixed. Social problems, like, we can't fight. You fight crime, you live to fight crime. It's not going to solve the problem. They have to bring in social interventions, community center, incentivize community leaders, like women, like a mother in the community. Like back in the days, in the country, like you have a mother in the community where everybody respect. Incentivize those people and bringing back some social programs.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to add quickly, in terms of just observation, in terms of what I've seen growing up, right? We see both sides, right? Meaning, I witnessed my grandparents, right, and I've heard, stories based on how, them I guess them grow them kids and how they are in the community. And to James' point, in terms of being, that individual in the community that people look up to and can actually see and get certain social advice, right? How, whether it be whether it's as a parent or as a wife, husband, whatever, right? They were one of those individuals in the community where people essentially would look up to, right? And get those type of those core, principles, values, and you see it in them kids, is it? And then also see other sides where, where people will not necessarily tap into that social aspects of life, that mental, change, stability, whatever it is, right? Where you see like the behavioral pattern, right? It basically follow them till them dead. You see me?
Yeah.
Not change. You understand? Then grow, then get old, but what? Not change. The mind is the mindset is literally the same. Me have a little tweak here and there, but because what? Because you never deal with what you deal with however long, right? It not left you, right? So that I go just find.
I want to say thank you to everyone on YouTube Live. Thank you to everyone listening on QMZRadio.com, JanoRadio.com, and MadMusicHouse.com. Got kicked out of fan base. Gonna see if I can make my way back in. Right.
You still have that to deal with it. Because you never deal with it. You see me? You never deal with it before. So I like say, just get up and left you. Right? And as a result, right, you may treat other people based on, the absence of a father, a mother, or them treat you. Blase.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a matter of grave concern, and it is going to take the concerted effort of everyone, not just leaders, so to speak, right? It starts in the home. Parents are going to have to seek assistance with how to manage their trauma, to deal with the traumas that they have had to experience, an intervention. They're going to have to seek help, seek counseling, find somebody to talk to. We need the village back. We need the village, because having the village can ease the burden that comes with just existing, day to day existing, right? Um, Go right ahead, James, before we
Yeah,
move on.
yeah. I think they talk about the trend now in Jamaica. Well, in the Caribbean in general, where people are not having kids at the same level that we used to back in the past.
Mhm.
And I think that might be a good thing, because I think especially in Jamaica, people can benefit from waiting. So like, a young girl getting pregnant at 18, I feel like if the trend now that people are taking their education more serious, or waiting until like 28 or 30, might benefit Jamaica in the future, because once you get to that age, you're making better decision, you're more mature, in the person that you're choosing. Both men and women, they're more mature and they're not just out there having fun. So I think that trend might lead to, a better situation for the Caribbean going in the future. I know the people are panicking in the Caribbean, so like, oh, they're not having as much kids.
Yeah,
But
because I know Jamaica is having that concern.
yeah, but I think it might be a blessing in disguise. Wait, like have kids, because like even my daughter is like 25, and she's not even thinking about anything like that. And I think that can be a blessing for the island. Like people just wait, because sometimes when you're 22, like you think you're Superman, or whatever, Superwoman, and then when you get to 28, you realize that you have matured and learned so much more. So that might be beneficial to the Caribbean. Wait longer until you're more mature in your thinking.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your input in that conversation. And that one wraps up our Caribbean Corner segment. Coming up now, it's time for stories out of Latin America. Las noticias. Go ahead and make a couple changes here on YouTube Live. Oh boy, I'm telling you. Um, yeah, you're absolutely right, James. Just thinking about what you're saying. I know that's so. And if the government of Jamaica is going to be saying to the our citizens that we're underpopulated, we need more children, please see to it that the resources are in place to support these children that you need, to support the families, the homes. That's all I'm gonna say to close out. All right, time for stories out of Latin America. First up, I think this is the only one we have out of Latin America before we move on to the international news. Dominican Republic, Guyana fertilizer blending plant, yep, to offer better urea options. This one, courtesy of DemeraraWaves.com. The Dominican Republic headquartered fertilizer company Fersan and the newly formed Guyana Fertilizer Inc., GIFO, have agreed to establish a fertilizer blending plant at Wales, West Bank, Demerara, to produce urea that is suitable for Guyana. GIFA Director Komal Singh told Demerara Waves Online News that urea would be imported from nearby gas-rich Trinidad for blending at the $20 million facility, based on the specific soil types in Guyana, with the aim of increasing crop yields. We joined hands together so we can start blending fertilizer in Guyana with a view to ensure that we blend to meet the demand of respective farmers. When the equipment, which arrived in Guyana last December, is installed by the end of 2025, he said the facility would produce, specific blends based on soil types, rather than have to depend on one blend for the entire market. This will bring great benefit to the agriculture sector and the farmers in Guyana by increasing productivity per acre and also reducing the cost of fertilization. The blending plant is expected to supply more than 60,000 to I know it's 60,000, right, my friend? I'm sorry, folks. Them are our waves. I don't know if you mean 60,000 or 600,000. Not sure. your comma is in an odd spot. But anyway, metric tons of blended urea for use in the agriculture sector, including the expanding rice, corn, and soya farms. All right. So he noted that first fertilizer prices had soared due to a shortage that stemmed from the Russia-Ukraine war because the latter country was a big supplier. The price of locally blended urea, he said, could be reduced, but would still depend on the acquisition cost of the unblended product. All right, so time for stories on the international scene. First up, Guyana. According to GhanaWeb.com, the International Finance Corporation, a member of the World Bank Group, has unveiled plans to invest approximately US $600 million in Ghana's private sector. This significant investment aims to stimulate job creation and drive economic growth, with primary focus on the garment industry and agro-processing sectors. Okay, so bear with me one moment here, folks. Let me pin the headline on YouTube. Go ahead.
After dumping all that old clothes in Ghana and creating hazards, environmental hazards, everything that you're talking about, investing back into Ghana garment industry. They should put a portion of it to clean up. And once the World Bank and them involved, it don't trickle down.
Cal Hoffer, IFC country director, said, "We are here to support the private sector, invest in the private sector, mobilize the private sector, both international and local, and to help create more and better jobs." Cal Hoffer revealed this investment plan during a courtesy call on Mr. Mahama, the majority leader in parliament, on Thursday. He reaffirmed the IFC's commitment to working with members of parliament to create employment opportunities for Ghanaians. What you saw last week at the garment factory was an example of Ghana's increased ability to take advantage of industrialization to create more and better jobs, in particular for women. He expressed gratitude to the IFC, that is, Mahama expressed gratitude to the IFC for its interest in engaging with his caucus to foster collaboration and facilitate interactions on issues of national importance. We're heading in the right direction, Mr. President. Sometimes, things take a while, but eventually we open our eyes, we see the light, and we adjust our sails.
The investment is in the private sector, and it will bring jobs. So it's good. I just need to be wary of them, and hopefully, it's a lot of they invest or they help Ghanaian businesses, because oftentimes what they do is they help their fellow countrymen to set up businesses there and poach everything the same way, so it doesn't really have the impact we would like it to have. But if that would curb some of the second-hand clothes and stuff that is decimating Ghana, yeah, that's a good.
Can the second-hand clothes be repurposed?
No, let people dump the garbage in their own country. Don't bring it in Africa to dump it.
No. I don't mean for them to bring more, to continue to bring what is there already. Can they be repurposed? Can the clothing be recycled? Can they be broken down, shredded, recycled, and used for something else?
Most of it is from plastic. A lot of it is not cotton. These quick fix clothes is not from the degradable products, and they're already in landfills. They're already in all the drainage systems. They're already in all the slums and stuff like that. Because even when they bring a stack of these so-called used clothes into the country, a large percentage of it can't even be used and end up in dumps. So it's really causing a serious problem for the countries.
So because they're made from plastic, Mr. President, is there the possibility for one to do some scientific research, get into a lab and see if they can be used as biofuel?
I don't know, maybe they can be repurposed. Of course they can be repurposed, but I'm saying is, first of all, how do you even stop the current environmental hazard? How do you clean up? How do you clean up just from where you're at now to even get to the stage where you're repurposing it? That's the
let's
$1 million
see if we
question.
can find some bright minds, because there are many bright minds. People are being very creative and inventive. So let us hope that the bright minds will see this as an opportunity to come up with something, explore the possibilities, right? And then we also have to ask the government to stop accepting these imports, quote unquote imports.
I see on social media they have the bus stop boys, right? These just a group of ordinary people who just started to clean up the drainage system on their own, and you could see they have expanded. It's just some ordinary guys that say, "Listen, we have to do something about this," and the work is tremendous. You want to applaud them for what they're doing, and they're not dependent on the government and stuff. They're volunteering to do these things and to show and to reach out to people to let's maintain the environment, let's take care of it, is our environment and stuff like that. So these guys are doing a good job, and I'm see the group has been expanding, and so that is a good push in the right direction. But it's a mama task to really bring back some of our environments.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. President. Go ahead, James, and then we move on.
Yeah, I was going to say sometime, as we all know, sometimes some of those investment, it seem good on the surface, but we don't have access to the fine print. And I'm hoping that is not like a different plan, like to deculture like Ghana, because remember that the old clothes was the same thing, but a lot of people like leaders, community leaders in Ghana was pushing back about America dumping their old clothes in Ghana, right? So I don't know, maybe this is a different strategy, and maybe there's some fine print that look that you can't use this to make cultural garments and stuff like that, because the thing is like what these organizations attempt to do is to take away, to remove you from your culture, right? That's their main objective. So hopefully it's not something like that where we look and then you see the same thing continue to happen in Ghana. You look in Ghana and it look like you're in Detroit or whatever. You're not in Africa. So hopefully, we don't know.
All right, thank you, James. And moving right along, our next article out of the international news segment. BBC India fined by ED over foreign exchange violations. Oops. What's going on? We have a audio clip for this. Let's see if we can take a listen.
Here's some more breaking news that's coming in. The Enforcement Directorate has fined BBC India for rupees 3.44 crores. BBC fined over foreign exchange violations. ED investigated BBC under Foreign Exchange Act. 3 directors have been fined 1.14 crores each. So the ED has levied a penalty of 3.44 crores on BBC India, 1.14 crore each on its 3 directors for FEMA violation. My colleague Shreya Chatterjee is joining us live on the broadcast for more on this. Shreya, give us more details on what exactly has happened here. Trouble is mounted for BBC India. The ED has fined BBC India. Give us more details on what really has happened.
Well, absolutely. The Enforcement Directorate has in fact issued an adjudication order, which is dated yesterday, against the BBC, and they have levied a penalty against them, which is more than almost 3 crores. Additionally, the fine will be 5,000 rupees per day ever since the 15th of October 2021. Now, this is because they had allegedly failed to comply with the FEMA, and this is as per the ongoing investigation under the FEMA violations. Additionally, the directors of BBC, which is Gilles Anthony Hunt, Indushekar Sinha, and Paul Michael Gibbons, etc., each of them, they've actually been filed more than almost 1 crore each for their roles in overseeing the company during the time of the period of the contravention. This is actually preceding a show cause notice, which was issued on the 4th of August 2023 to BBC and 3 of its directors following the contravention. So this is an ongoing investigation, as I say. BBC has meanwhile issued a statement suggesting that they are yet to get the adjudication order, and when they receive the same, they will go through it and accordingly respond to the same.
Absolutely, Shreya. Thanks for bringing us those details on that story. there is heat on the British Broadcasting Company India, with the Enforcement Directorate having levied a penalty on the company, alleging that the company violated India's foreign funding law.
Why are people not behaving themselves at Adesoji, and those are the people you want to go work with?
Yeah, this stems from almost like four years ago. 4 years ago, because the BBC did an expose on Modi's party and how it has been slowly disregarding the constitution of India, and since then, yeah. So that's where that story comes from.
This is retaliatory, you're saying?
Yes.
So they use the constitution to hold BBC accountable.
Exactly. So the BBC effectively, what the BBC did was, China has this rule that there's no religion that supersedes any other religion on the Indian constitution. And Modi party, the BJP, has been trying to, move past that for a while now, and so all of this anti-Muslim, anti-Christian stuff, rhetoric has been, blowing up the airwaves and what have you. There's been killings and reprisals and stuff like that. So when the BBC goes in, and the BBC has been reporting that as a result of this is the fallout that this brings and everything. And so the BBC has then come in the crossheads of the ruling party, which is the BJP of Modi. And so what you have there is just the fallout of what we'll consider to be excesses of the Indian state. Yes. So that's why I was laughing.
You're celebrating. Okay. All right.
No. It's like a celebration.
You are blowing balloons and streamers and all of that.
Yeah, but the thing is, when they report these things, between when they report and when they take action is usually a very long time. And in news circle, the key is make sure that the audience forgets. Because like you're asking me now that what happened, most people probably have forgotten. But because I'm a news junkie, all of this stuff, it's like my people will say "Anreuloso," which is there's a reason why the old man or old woman has gray hairs. Is because they've seen a lot. So yeah, that's
about it.
Exactly. So when you hear stuff like this, and you saw how the reporter was, oh yes, I was the BBC has been, that was what I was cracking. I was like, okay, all right, sister, I hear you.
All right, our next article. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Adesoji, do you think Modi is like a Trump type figure?
Very much so. Very much so. In fact, yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, because he seemed to be very controversial in recent times. Like,
and he's much more dangerous.
Justin through the fighting.
So what's the problem? Don't we like that?
No.
Not just recent times, James. Not just recent times. Remember, even the minority communities is go exactly. After them, marginalize them a lot.
Yeah, what was kind of strange was him meeting with Donald Trump and agreeing to terms to buy, was it oil from the US? Like, that was kind of strange. The last meeting that he had, last week. That was a bit.
Modi, isn't he selling Russian oil?
He's buying Russian oil. No. Yeah, you see, Mr. President, catch on. He is buying Russian oil. Okay, so there is sanctions on Russia, right? So what does he do? He basically circumvents all of that.
Who put the sanctions on Russia?
The United States.
Okay, carry on.
So he buys the oil at dirt cheap and then sells it on the market. That's what he's been doing. So, and also there's another thing. He wants to do bullyman tactics with China because he has they also have what's it called? They have disputes that they have on on his northern but
border
current
dispute.
southern border called the Nimian Mountains. So basically, they've been fighting over this for years, but all of a sudden now, because the boy has grown balls, he's decided. Sorry, we're on it. He's decided, he's gonna flex. He's gonna flex some muscles. So what he's basically looking for is backing, but he's looking for backing in the wrong place. But to speak directly to what James said, yes, he's Trump-like, but his is much more dangerous because you're talking about numbers. You're talking about a place where religion plays a very important role in their politics. Mm-hmm. And all you need to do is say the wrong thing and millions of people will die. So that's why he's much more dangerous.
Wow. All right.
And he deliberately uses moments. He deliberately uses religion to cause a divide. Deliberately.
Oh, okay. Similarity C. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. All right. Moving right along. EU considers confiscating part of Russia's frozen $280 billion, according to a report from Bloomberg. Okay. Let's get into this one. Article courtesy of KyievIndependent.com. So, the European Union is intensifying discussions on how to seize Russia's frozen central bank assets to provide financial and military aid to Ukraine as concerns grow that the United States may scale back its support. EU officials are considering using these assets as collateral for a proposed international claims commission, which would assess damages owed to Ukraine. People familiar with the talks told Bloomberg. If Russia refuses to pay, the assets could be confiscated. The initiative follows signals from Washington that Ukraine may receive less assistance moving forward. Discussions on asset seizure come amid escalating tensions between US President Donald Trump and President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump recently criticized Zelensky, calling him a dictator and falsely blaming Ukraine for Russia's full-scale invasion. As a result, Zelensky has urged European leaders to take a greater responsibility in ensuring Ukraine receives sustained financial and military backing. The EU, along with the Group of Seven and Australia, has already frozen approximately $280 billion in Russian central bank assets, primarily held by the Belgium-based clearinghouse Euroclear. An additional $58 billion in private Russian assets, including luxury properties and yachts, has been frozen under sanctions. Despite support from EU officials such as Valdis Dombrovskis and Maria Albuquerque, EU's Financial Services Commissioner, the proposal to confiscate Russian assets faces legal and economic hurdles. Some EU nations, including Germany and France, have voiced opposition, warning that such a move could have significant repercussions for the international role of the euro and undermine legal frameworks governing sovereign assets. Is this a wise move on the part of the EU?
Dumb.
Yeah.
I don't understand the short-sightedness of some of these leaders. You already have the issue with the US weaponizing the dollar. Now you want to weaponize the euro. As a matter of fact, the money you're freezing is the Russian people money. Regardless of who is in power in Russia, this is the Russian people. Imagine you decide to freeze American money that belongs to the American Central Bank stored in China or wherever because of Trump now, or because of Biden, or because you don't like the current. It has never been a precedent before where you freeze central bank funds, because central bank funds belongs to the people of the country, not the leadership at the point in time. And with BRICS and the global south already so skeptical of the West, you will go and add fuel to that fire. And if you do freeze that money. What impact does it make in Ukraine? Absolutely nothing. They cannot win the war. This war would not stop by Ukraine winning it. They have to negotiate the way out of it. So to me, it's a mute point.
So how soon can we expect Zelensky to wave the white flag?
He would never. He wouldn't.
He's gonna put
He will go
prejudice
to the
before
wire.
pride,
He will go to the
or
wire.
pride before his people.
He never put his people first, I don't think. But anyhow, and the reason why Germany have to tell him is a stupid idea. Russia still is tied to the German economy. As much as they scale back a lot of stuff, Russia could still squeeze Germany. And if Russia squeezes Germany, Europe bleeds. Anyhow, I yield.
But hold on a second. Isn't the German economy going through a rough time now?
Of course.
It's the largest economy in Europe, and its market is the countries around it. So yes, if the countries around it are not doing well, then the economy will suffer. On the issue of them seizing the assets, that is a very, very, and Shana underscore it, very bad idea.
Exactly.
Europe has this problem with history, which is oftentimes they make laws to impact people other than who look like them, but they end up using those same stuff on themselves, i.e., what's it called? Second World War, when they fought themselves and destroyed the entire Europe. Those kind of munitions were never supposed to be used on the European continent, but they were used all the same. The next one is the International Court of Justice. You heard when they put Netanyahu on there, and the first thing they said was, this is supposed to be for African leaders. Again, now you're going to use the same thing that you use for African and countries in the South with regards to confiscation of their property. You're going to use it on one of your own. It doesn't usually end nicely. And so whether the guy is not going to throw in the white flag. I mean, he's lost the war even from day one. It was never a war he could win. Never. Regardless if the United States were to march next door to Russia, the United States have this running theme with their war of wherever they go. Their wars don't last more than 20 years. Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Those are just three. And they were all for 20 years. Exactly. 20 years. Go look at it. You'll be shocked of the correlation with all the they don't have, when they scheme, oh, we're gonna do this forever. Even the war on terror itself was for 20 years. After 20 years, roll back. The Vietnam War was for 20 years, 65 to 75. Afghanistan, again, another 20 years. Iraq, another 20 years. That's it. That's it. So to think they will come to your doorstep and will be there for as long as Russia is next door, you're Dulali. I yield.
All right.
Yeah.
Quickly, James, quickly.
Yeah. No, I think the best thing he can do is take Trump deal. Just tell Trump, like, look, let's organize that all three of us sitting at the table. And so it can.
But what is Trump's deal, James? Trump wants their resources.
Well, I think he's right for thing, because remember, American taxpayers, we were counting up the money entire last year, right? And that's billions of dollars. Do you feel comfortable as an American taxpayer to not get back that money? That billions of dollars.
You really think that it's coming back to us? You really think that come back to it? You think we're good? Okay, I agree. We should get it back, James, but let us be practical, or see if you agree with me or not. That's okay. When we do get the money back, who you think is going to benefit from it? You think it's me, the regular citizen, going to benefit? Who you think stand to benefit the most from it? Do you think it's going to reinstate healthcare benefits for the elderly? Do you think it's going to bring down the price of eggs? I don't see
Well,
the regular
well,
everyday person benefiting.
if it comes back and help with infrastructure in America, then it's still, because at the end of the day, it's still American taxpayers' money. And the thing is, I think he's naive, because for him, his latest statement that he would give up um being at the hell of Ukraine, he would give up that
Mhm.
if the war can end and they can join NATO. That is never going to happen. Before he was born, that was already agreed upon, that they would never join NATO. So for him to sit down in front of camera and spew such garbage,
Mhm.
that have nothing to do with Putin. Like, Putin wasn't the one that signed that agreement, said that Ukraine will never join NATO. That was before his time. That was before Zelensky was even born. So for him to sit down and think that if he step aside, he will step aside, like he's like, oh, I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb. I will step down if we can join NATO. That is never going to happen.
All right. All right, next up, U.S. threatens to shut off Starlink if Ukraine won't sign minerals deal, sources tell Reuters. This one, courtesy of Kyiv.independent.com. The United States has threatened to cut off Ukraine's access to Starlink satellite internet terminals if Kyiv does not reach a deal with the US regarding critical mineral resources, Reuters reported on February 21, citing three sources familiar with the negotiations. On February 22, Tesla, SpaceX, and ex CEO Elon Musk denied reports that the United States threatened to shut off Starlink in Ukraine unless Kyiv agreed to a minerals deal. US and Ukrainian officials are currently negotiating the terms of a revised minerals deal after President Volodymyr Zelensky refused to sign an initial proposal. US President Donald Trump said earlier on February 21 that the parties are pretty close to an agreement. US negotiators have warned that Ukraine would lose access to Starlink terminals owned by billionaire Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, if Kyiv did not sign the deal, sources told Reuters. I'm seeing a conflict of interest here, a huge conflict of interest. Who are you working for, Trump? Are you working for the American people, or are you working for Elon Musk? Why are you looking out for Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, so much? Why are you looking out for Tesla? Why are you looking out for X? Why are we looking out for Starlink? Why are we using that? Why are we using Elon Musk's private companies to threaten Ukraine? Explain to me the reason behind that. Something is the water looks muddy to me. I don't know. Looks very muddy to me in this case. If you're going to use a negotiating tool, I don't think it should be a private company, because what this is saying to the population at large is that, hold on a second, something is off here. Is there any truth, any element of truth to the assertions, the allegations that are being made as it relates to the presidency, the election? I think we're entering a gray area here. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Or do you
Maybe it's just
agree?
how the report is written, moments,
Okay.
because the US don't have control over Starlink to decide they are the one, the US government will shut out Starlink. And Starlink is a private company. I know the US probably fund a lot of the innovations or something linked. I'm not sure. But maybe it's just how the article is written.
I
And
hope so.
because Mr. Musk is close to the president, but I don't think the US could just have that control
Hmm.
over a private company. The US government, that is.
Right? No, anything is possible. Hmm.
It sounds like, you ever watch one of the mafia movie where, like the mafia hold you over the edge of the building and say, sign the papers, make sure you're
Oh, Lord. What can I say? All right, our final story out of the international news segment: Vietnam's birth rate among lowest in Southeast Asia. What happened over there? They're not making enough babies? What's going on? We need babies, Vietnam. We need babies. So, according to e.vnexpress.net, Vietnam's fertility rate currently stands at 1.91 children per woman, ranking among the 5 lowest in Southeast Asia, according to the Ministry of Health. While the regional average is 2.0 children per woman, Vietnam's rate is only higher than Brunei, 1.8, Malaysia, 1.6, Thailand, and Singapore, both 1.0. From 1999 to 2022, Vietnam's fertility rate remained stable around the replacement level of 2.1. However, in the past 2 years, it has dropped rapidly from 1.96 in 2023 to 1.91 in 2024, marking the lowest level in history. This is also the third consecutive year that the fertility rate has fallen below replacement levels, raising concerns about long-term demographic and economic impacts. Listen, I make up in a man 101. I don't want to put them or I don't want to put them. Make up in a man. 1 minute we're hearing that the world is overpopulated, and because of this overpopulation, it is putting a strain on resources. BS. I cry BS on that. Sorry. All right, Vietnam.
Yeah, it's really confusing, and it's kind of strange that the only place that is not experiencing this is Africa. Like everywhere else in the world, there's a steep decline. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Well, Vietnam has been improved from considered poor to a low middle income country. And what you also find happening is when countries go from poor to like middle income countries tend to have less kids. Especially if people come out of poverty, struggling to see their parents feed them and stuff like that, and they get to the stage where they're earning a lot more. They are more conscious as to how they go about making children. And in a world where it is so difficult for everybody now, people are saying, listen, I suffered through this year. I'm not bringing that much kids to suffer with me. Let me take it easy. So that could be one of the impact of improving economic conditions in Vietnam. I'm not sure.
And you can't blame them. People have to make smarter choices. Why put more upon plenty? Enough suffering is going on in the world. Enough. I'm not going to tell nobody how many children they need to have and increase. I'm not time for that. All right, that story wraps up our international news segment. Want to say a big thank you to everyone listening on QMZRadio.com, JanoRadio.com, MadMusicHouse.com, and everyone watching on YouTube Live. Also, a big thank you to everyone right here with me on Fanbase, where the conversation happens. Now, time for stories out of North America. And before we get into that, I have to say a big thank you to our co-sponsors. Lormel Skin Food. Head on over to lormelskinfood.com for a natural, beautiful you. Also, our sponsor, grantcoffeehouse.com. Shop today at grantcoffeehouse.com and get 20% off all coffee products. Use the code COFFEEINTO20 at checkout. All right, let's go ahead and get into this one. First up, Canada. What's up, Canada? What's going on, Canada? Why are you playing around, Canada? James, you're being sued up there in the north. Palestinian families from Gaza take Canadian government to court. According to MiddleEastEye.net, Palestinian families are suing the Canadian government after a temporary scheme that well, I like to use the word scheme, sound like a scam, right? But anyway, after a temporary scheme that grants visas to Palestinians from Gaza with family ties to the country has been beset by delays. The scheme has come under fire for its complexity and ineffectiveness in issuing visas. Marcoux and Lee, an immigration and refugee law firm in Toronto, filed a case on the 6th of February on behalf of 53 Palestinian families who are currently in the Gaza Strip to ask the Federal Court of Canada to process the applications without delay. Hurry up, chop, chop, get to it. The firm says half of their clients are children, the youngest of whom is 7 months old. They expressed concern that the Canadian government had let the application sit in limbo while conditions in Gaza had progressively worsened and the enclave had become uninhabitable since the scheme was launched more than a year ago. So, more than a year ago. So the one who is how old? 7 months old. That one was voicing concerns while they were in utero. All right. They said their clients, Canadian family members, had petitioned on behalf of their relatives within a month of the application, and their applications had not yet proceeded to the next stage. The Canadian families petitioning on behalf of their relatives remain concerned for their family members' lives. But James there. Oh, James not here right now. But Canada, what's up? You have a 7-month-old voicing concerns. Do we have a lawsuit against the US? Just asking.
Not yet.
No, I mean, come on. You're suing Canada for not getting you out of there quickly enough.
Moments, I don't think the lawsuit is meant. I think the lawsuit is designed just to bring attention to the case.
You think so?
Hey, I don't think it's a case where you think you could, because Canada still has the choice to issue the visa or not. But I think they probably figure if you bring a lawsuit, you bring it in court, you put, because it's like it run cold. So you put some attention on it, and hopefully you make some progress. And either way, if nothing happens, you're in the same position where you started. So to them, they have nothing to lose.
It's a win-win or lose-lose situation. Okay.
They can be worse off than where they are. But I think it's just a matter of bringing some attention to the case.
That's a valid point. I see. I can see through that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes we do things that may seem ridiculous to people like me, but in truth and in fact, it's to bring an awareness. All right, got it. Okay. All right, next up, police officer killed, 5 others wounded after gunman holds Pennsylvania hospital staff hostage and opens fire. This one, we have a soundbite for this, comes to us courtesy of WSVN. Let's go ahead and take a listen here. Oops, the wrong one.
Horror at a Pennsylvania hospital when a gunman takes hostages in the ICU. Police say a 49-year-old man shot 6 people, including a doctor, nurse, and 3 officers in this hospital in York, PA. One of the officers died. The gunman also killed in the shootout. Authorities say they engaged him as he was holding a woman at gunpoint. Her hands zip-tied when police opened fire. It is still too early in their investigation to find out a motive, but police say the shooter had been in the ICU earlier in the week for a medical emergency involving someone else.
Wow. By the way, I'm so sorry to hear that had happened. But I have 2 questions. One, have we heard the current administration or any representative within the current administration bring to the forefront or highlight a concern that we've been having for a long time as it relates to gun control? Have we heard any conversation surrounding that since the current administration has taken office? Yes, no, maybe so, maybe we missed it.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Okay, all right, thank you. Also, oh my God, you know what? The other question slipped to me. I know it will come back. I know it will come back to me. It will definitely come back. All right. Our next story out of our North American news segment: what the firings at FEMA could mean for the next hurricane or wildfire. We have a soundbite for this one as well, courtesy of NPR.
President Trump's administration has brought its firings to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the people who help local authorities in disasters.
In addition to the firings, people involved tell NPR that FEMA is cutting back on its work to make homes and buildings safer before a disaster. This is also one of the agencies the president has talked of eliminating.
Lauren Summer with NPR's Climate Desk is covering this story. Lauren, good morning.
Good morning.
How many people were fired?
So it's more than 200 employees. That's what the Department of Homeland Security told me, and they oversee FEMA. These were workers on probationary status, which basically means they were within 1 year of taking the job. But, I spoke to people that had been at the agency more than a decade, and they were only on probationary status because they accepted a promotion for a new job. One told me the firings were like doing surgery with a chainsaw instead of a scalpel.
Okay, so 200 firings, but it is an agency with thousands. So how would this affect their response in a disaster?
Right. Yeah. So when disasters happen, it's really all hands on deck at FEMA. They put hundreds of people on the ground to connect disaster victims and, enroll them for financial assistance. That's for things like renting a place to live or rebuilding long term. Those FEMA staff come from every part of FEMA. And I talked to Michael Cohn, who was FEMA's chief of staff under the Biden administration, and he says the agency was already understaffed.
We've been behind at FEMA as far as our recruiting goals. And now to let go a whole year's worth of people who have been hired is only going to put the agency in jeopardy.
Last year, during Hurricane Helene, FEMA had to use employees from other federal agencies to fill the gap because the need was so great from disaster survivors.
Although, didn't the president suggest that FEMA wasn't necessary when he was talking during the Los Angeles fires?
Yeah, he said disaster recovery is better left to the states, and he's actually creating a council that will review and potentially overhaul FEMA. Local and state governments actually already run disaster recovery, and they request that FEMA come in. But aspects of FEMA's work are already changing because, one thing the agency does is help develop building codes. These are the construction standards that help homes survive floods and hurricane winds. FEMA experts had already written recommendations about how to strengthen those codes. They were submitted to the International Code Council, which is an association that updates the codes every 3 years, and then local and state governments adopt them. But FEMA has asked for its name to be taken off those recommendations. According to people who are involved with that work and spoke with me, they want to remain anonymous over concerns about retribution from the Trump administration. And FEMA did not respond to our questions about why they made this request.
This is really interesting reporting you have here, and I want to talk about this. There is a wider debate over building requirements. There are even liberals and progressives, as well as conservatives, who think we've made it too hard to build stuff and that it's bad for society. But I assume you're talking here about relatively narrow recommendations about how to make your house or your building survive a disaster.
Yeah. These are recommendations that come out of actual disasters, seeing what hasn't worked. It's things like maybe raising up a house a little bit so floodwaters don't come in. And research really shows they add about 1% to 2% of the construction costs, but they've saved billions of dollars in damage that would have happened otherwise.
NPR's Lauren Summer from our Climate Desk. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I mean, do they care? I don't think so. That's the truth. I mean, push it back to the state level. So FEMA gets federal funding, am I correct? So then,
Correct.
stop paying federal taxes. Stop paying federal taxes.
Well, it's not so much as stop paying for federal taxes. And everyone that's seen the hurricanes and the cyclones and the earthquakes can tell you that no state can face it on their own. No state. So that's why you have the federal might come in. If you're now saying, leave it to the states, good luck with that. I yield.
It's the top of the hour. If we're going to say push it back to the state, whatever was being deducted from your salary as federal income tax, I say slash that and move everything to the state deduction. That's what I'm going to say. Because if you are going to pay into the Federal Reserve and your state is not going to be able to benefit from it, what's the point? What's the point? I don't know. Yes, I'm being very facetious. Very, very facetious as always. But sometimes you have to look at the ridiculousness of things, you know. Florida leads nation in pending immigration cases amid growing backlash. So let's go ahead and get into this one, courtesy of NPR. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? We have a soundbite for this one. Um, no, la. No soundbite on that one. The one we have the soundbite on is, hold on, the next one coming up. So let's go ahead and get into this one. This one comes to us courtesy of Caribbean National Weekly.com. Ah, boy. According to research from Syracuse University, Florida leads the country in pending immigration cases with over 567,000 unresolved cases as of December 2024. Texas and California follow with 490,000 and 405,000 cases, respectively. The recent firing of over a dozen immigration judges by the Trump administration, of course, has raised concerns among experts who argue that this action contradicts the urgent need for more judges to address the growing backlog of immigration cases across the United States. Immigration attorneys in the state have witnessed the backlog expand significantly since the Obama administration. The number of judges cannot keep up with the volume of cases, and it seems to be the common response amongst attorneys. Now, the firing of immigration judges has prompted concerns about how it could worsen the already overwhelming case backlog. Florida, in particular, has seen a nearly 350% increase in pending cases over the past 4 years. This surge is primarily driven by an influx of immigrants, including Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Haitians, many of whom have sought asylum or humanitarian parole. There simply aren't enough judges to process all of these cases, said Kathleen Bush Joseph from the Migration Policy Institute. Experts warn that the immigration system, overwhelmed and underfunded, is failing those who deserve asylum protection. The backlog means people are waiting years for hearings, and others who are not eligible for asylum are allowed to remain in the country longer. Nationally, there are more than 3.7 million cases pending in immigration courts, a number that puts immense pressure on the system, with each judge responsible for thousands of cases. The Trump administration has previously emphasized efforts to reduce immigration backlogs, but the problem persists. I mean, what's the problem? Do we have a problem? No, we don't have a problem. Everything is going just as according to
If I was one of those judges, I would just speak to my clerk. Miss Clark, we've got 5 days in the week. We're going to do minimum of 50 cases a day. And guarantee you, I have to not like you for you not to get your papers regularized. The moment you come in and I like your demeanor, approved. That's it.
Well, sir, just change it up. But really and truly, though,
Yeah.
For example, there are some people who have to keep going back several times to court. Why can't the maximum number of times be 3? Why is it that some people going back to court 10, 15 times? What's the purpose of dragging?
Yeah, but sometimes your papers are not complete, and the judge will be lenient in so far as it's not a violation or anything. It's just a technical error. You'll be allowed to come back. But here's the thing: you know what you're playing against. So the best thing is when they come before you, just stamp their papers, approved. Welcome to the United States.
Okay.
Just do that. I mean, he can't revoke your citizenship, can he? Can he? Exactly. So just approve. You know, and then when he comes to you and says, "Oh, I noticed that there is a 100% success rate with it. Like you can see in front of me, there are no violations, and these are lawful and law-abiding citizens. Or to quote them, they are not criminals. They are not criminals. So we cannot deport them.
Next up, U.S. State Department announces new visa interview waiver rules. Let's take a look at this one. If there are any benefits to be had. According to Caribbean National Weekly, the U.S. State Department has updated its policy on visa interview waivers, making it harder for many applicants to skip in person interviews. This change comes at a time when U.S. embassies worldwide are facing staffing cuts and operational restructuring, which could lead to longer wait times and backlogs for visa processing. Who can still skip the visa interview, you might ask? Some applicants may qualify for an interview waiver, including diplomats and government officials with specific visa types such as A1, A2, C3, G1 to G4, NATO 1 to NATO 6, and TECRO E1. Applicants for domestic or official visas, and people renewing a visa in the same category if it expired less than 12 months ago. Now, to be eligible for an interview waiver, applicants must also meet certain criteria, including that they, one, apply in their country of nationality or residence, two, have never been refused a visa unless such refusal was overcome or waived, and three, have no apparent or potential ineligibility. Previously, visa renewal applications could avoid an interview if their visa expired within the last 48 months, which is 4 years. Now, that period has been cut to just 12 months. Children under 14 and adults over 79 were also typically exempt from in-person interviews, along with certain student visa and exchange visitor visa applicants, especially if applying from a country with a low visa refusal rate. Oh boy. So what does this mean for Caribbean travelers? For Caribbean applicants, these updates could lead to longer wait times for visa appointments as more applicants now require in-person interviews. More difficulty renewing visas, especially for those whose visas expired over a year ago, and increased travel expenses for those needing to visit a U.S. embassy or consulate for their interviews. In other words, them are gonna make it harder for honor. The impact is especially significant for Jamaica, which has one of the highest US migration rates per capita. A recent rocket moving study found that 38.7% of Jamaica's total population resides in the US, making it the fourth highest country in terms of migration to America. With so many Jamaicans traveling back and forth, the new visa rules could cause serious delays and disruption. So what you need for that? Check your local US embassy or consulate's website for the latest updates on visa processing times and requirements. Apply early as backlogs and staffing shortages may cause longer than usual delays, and be prepared for an interview, even if you previously renewed your visa without one. All right, so that's the thing that people.
Quick question.
They don't want. Go ahead, Adesoji.
What about we with special relationships?
What special relationship?
It doesn't visa requirement doesn't apply to us?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Folks. Next up, burnout. Burnout is a problem for caseworkers serving unhoused people. This article comes to us courtesy of NPR, and we have a soundbite for this one. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
As the cost of housing keeps going up, so does the number of people without a stable place to live in the U.S., and many of the caseworkers who help them are feeling burned out. Connecticut Public Radio's Abigail Brown has this report.
When someone seeking housing assistance in central Connecticut calls the state's 211 helpline, they're often directed to Nicole Barracliff. She's sitting in her office, cradling a pink mug of coffee with an image of a Care Bear on the front. She's on the phone with a man facing homelessness.
They'll provide you anything they have to keep you as safe and comfortable as possible, but they wouldn't be able to offer you like an immediate shelter bed anywhere, unfortunately.
For the last 3 years, Barracliff has been connecting people who are unhoused or facing eviction to services that can help find them a temporary or permanent place to stay. Barracliff says she's felt overwhelmed since late 2023. With the loss of state and federal COVID benefits came an increase in demand for housing. She often finds herself having to tell clients there's no immediate housing option.
Small success stories, they do help and they mean a lot. Like, they make your heart happy, but there's just so many, like, day to day. I feel like you just feel like you're never doing enough.
Last year, there were more than 20,000 calls for aid across Connecticut. People looking for everything from shelter beds to help finding an apartment. Nationwide, homelessness increased 18% last year, according to a federal report. Inflation, rising housing costs, and benefits expiring are among some of the reasons for the increase, and providers are unsure what to expect from the new presidential administration. The National Alliance to End Homelessness chose not to speculate on how President Donald Trump's policies may impact funding and support. To decompress, Barracliff takes midday walks or unfolds the futon in her office.
If we have a really bad phone call, I'll open it up and just like sit by the window with the air and like just have a moment.
While worker burnout was exacerbated by COVID, it's been ongoing for years. Joy Moses, with the National Alliance to End Homelessness, says in some communities, federal pandemic aid made little impact for the organizations serving homeless people.
They had an influx of resources that came from the federal government that they were having a hard time spending because they just didn't have the staff and the manpower to carry out the good ideas.
Moses says providers are taking on some of the trauma their unhoused clients share with them. Another issue caseworkers face, relatively low pay. A recent study by the Alliance found more than half of the homeless service providers surveyed made less than $55,000 a year. Low pay also leads to high employee turnover, and that impacts care. Kellyanne Day is CEO of the nonprofit New Reach, which operates 2 shelters in Connecticut. Day says New Reach's turnover has risen to about 20%.
In many cases, it's doubled. Some years, our turnover used to be well under 10%.
For Barracliff, who works connecting unhoused callers with help, the pain of her job springs up at odd moments.
When you're driving around in your car with your kids and like you're laughing and you're going to football and you're doing normal things and you look over and you see somebody not doing those things because they can't, that are very clearly unhoused.
For many providers, it comes down to resources and funding. Workers will be able to better care for unhoused residents if they don't feel at risk of being unable to afford housing themselves. For NPR News, I'm Abigail Brown.
So let me ask a question. With President Trump's plan to get access to the resources in Ukraine, will the access to said resources allow us to, or enable us to be able to handle the problem of homelessness here in the U.S.?
That is just an excuse and is a ruse. It shouldn't even be the subject of conversation, because if indeed waste is what they are after, just look at the military. Just look at the military. I think we're being sold false goods if we believe whatever is coming out or going to emanate out of Ukraine is going to solve any sort of societal problem in the United States. And that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
But Thomas, the same people trying to find housing for the homeless, they themselves is suffering from housing issues. They themselves feel pressured. The thing is, why is it that in a society that's supposed to be so affluent, there is so much homelessness and stuff. And I know, yes, there is an element of that in every society. But why does it seem to be such a big problem here in the US and it's like it's rising? Why is housings and homes and so unaffordable to the average person? Why? Compared to some other areas. And that is the question, the problem we have to solve. How is it, for instance, you have kids who is making more than their parents made, more educated, everything, have to live in their parents' house?
Had that conversation this weekend, Mr. President.
You have a degree, you have a full-time job, and you cannot even afford a reasonable mortgage with a single family home. If you have a degree at minimum, because the people with degrees supposed to be at the above average class, right? At minimum. Above average, you have a full degree, you have a job that you're employed full time. So if these people cannot afford a mortgage, who can? There you go.
I mean, I had this very conversation yesterday. There was a time, not too long ago, 2-parent household, one person working, the man. And they were able to pay their bills, put food on the table, put aside for savings, go on a vacation at least once a year as a family. There was a time when it was doable. Now, as you pointed out, we have people with master's degrees and them can't make them two-hand clap.
Don't anybody full-time job. Okay, full-time job. You have a degree and have a full-time job.
Okay. And Mr. President, remember, no, it was beaten into our heads. Get a degree because that will set you up. That will give you a greater earning potential. It will give you the leverage you need so that you're able to live a decent life. You're able to take care of yourself, take care of your family. Where master's degree are going to know? Why good for? Good name? Good name. I tell you the truth, even people with doctorates who go back and say, okay, they're going to get a PhD. Them still a struggle, but they're putting themselves in debt for this illusion that they're going to be better off. Stop saying it's to make you earn more and just say it is to satisfy a desire that you've had to gain more knowledge. That's all. Because it's no longer about dollars and cents. However, you have people who not have no degree and make 3 times what you make. And them not in a debt. Go ahead, Mr. President.
But women, sometimes when you have your masters and you're struggling, in your mind you believe if you get a PhD, you will set you apart. So it's not like people are doing that because they just want knowledge. It's like if you have a first degree, now you say you're a first degree and cutting it, So I have to get a master's or MBA.
Yeah.
When you go, you get your master's and your MBA, you realize you're still struggling. You say, boy. At the end of the rope now, your PhD or MBA, whatever, then you realize, but maybe I should have set up a barber shop.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, and I'm glad you said that because we know somebody. He started barbering in high school. In high school. And he makes more than any person with them PhD out there. So it's no longer about the earning potential that comes with the qualification because you invested how many years in university. It's no longer about that. That comes with debt. Praise the Lord, praise God if you're able to do it on grants and scholarships. There are people who have had to put themselves in debt thinking they're going to make more money. And don't think, okay, yeah, a lot of us have the idea where, okay, it's going to set me apart. Set you apart from who? Who is it setting you apart from?
As we own that, what I want to highlight to a lot of young men out there, especially those that are not academically inclined, you actually have an advantage because you could join the carpenters union, the electrical union, the plumbing union, and this, where you could go in as an apprentice, work for about $20 an hour, and your pay go up every year incrementally until you become a mechanic. By the time your peers finish college, you'll be making more money than them, and you don't have a loan to pay back. So it's something we should consider.
Yeah. We have to think smarter. And I don't want nobody misinterpret what I'm saying, you know. Don't get what I'm saying wrong. But are you doing it because you think you're going to make money? Or are you doing it for your personal advancement? Understand why you're doing what you're doing. And as it is said, or is it just to put up on the wall? Because if you have this student debt where you have to pay back and you're still a struggle, okay, you may want to make sure you put yourself in a position where you're earning properly and then you pursue it. So you don't have to take out a debt to pursue it. It may take a little longer, but whatever. Can you imagine? Nationwide homelessness increased 18% last year. Van life is the new bougie life here in this country. Yeah, everybody do the van life thing. Nurses are doing the van life. Van life. That is what is being celebrated. You know, one thing, I will say this. DeSantis has been courting the idea, and I will agree with him on this one, of property tax. I will agree to an extent. I think it's ridiculous that you slave so hard to pay off for your house. However long it takes you, let us say take you 30 years to pay off your house. And you can lose that same house in 30 days if you're not able to come up with your property taxes. It ends up on the courthouse steps and you end up homeless. Either we do away with the property taxes and increase state taxes or implement city taxes so that we can cover the cost to fund the police departments, the fire departments, the teachers, municipalities, so on, right? Or significantly decrease the amount of property taxes, because I don't think it's fair for anybody to struggle to pay off them house and then you still have to scratch your head to make sure you pay your property taxes. That keeps going up year after year. I think it can be handled another way. So I do support his call for the doing away of it, or let us bring it to the table and say how we can make it more affordable for people to pay their property taxes and look at other sources of revenue. Go ahead.
Move to China. Move to China. Once you buy it and you pay for it, you don't have to pay no taxes. Own it for what, 70 years, and then you pay a small fee.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something worth exploring. Every year, you have to shell out this heap of money, and God help you if you can't pay it. 30 days is all it takes for you to be homeless. We have a problem in this country. And why are you paying taxes year after? Even for your vehicle, every year, you have to be shelling out money every single year. Come on. There are some things that we can change.
Yeah, most, but you realize this is North American capitalism, right? This is the result because North America right now is the fastest thing growing, like third world part of the world, right? Because like when you look at everything that you just said about what's happening in the US, the exact same thing is happening in Canada. Homelessness is like through the roof. Like there's a guy now that started a business called Tiny Home, where like he built these like almost like some homes. They're the size of like a van back, and he put like install like a solar system on top that provide solar energy to heat it, because people are intense dying because of how cold it is. So, and in the Caribbean, we see like an increase in homelessness. But when you look on the other side of the world, you're not seeing the same problem. When you look like in Asia, you look like all these Asian countries, you don't see like within the past 5 to 6 years, when you see like a rise in North America, look on the other side of the world and you're not seeing the same problem. And that's why a lot of these countries are trying to stay away from America, because America capitalism, they see the result that's happening on this side of the world and they don't want it, in their neck of the woods.
And you
So
can't
it's a
blame
dangerous
them.
thing.
You
Yeah.
can't blame them. I stand with them on that. Definitely stand with it on that one. All right, here's another one in our North American news segment. Elon Musk blurs the line between his government and business roles. This article, courtesy of NPR, and we have a soundbite for this. Go ahead and take a listen.
Members of Elon Musk's Doge team are continuing their march through government agencies on what they say is a mission to find fraud and wasteful spending. Musk himself is often seen at President Trump's side, who praises him frequently.
And Elon Musk has done an amazing job. I have to tell you, him and his super geniuses, these are seriously high IQ people.
Musk is classified as a special government employee. That's a role created by Congress in the 1960s that allows parts of the federal government to bring someone on for a specific role on a temporary basis. He is also a tech billionaire. And as NPR senior White House correspondent Tamara Keith reports, the line between those roles is blurry.
We've got one more surprise in case this wasn't enough. I'm going to let Elon do it.
Elon Musk was a surprise guest at the Conservative Political Action Conference outside of Washington, D.C. yesterday. And as part of his introduction, the president of Argentina walked out on stage to give him a red and chrome chainsaw.
President Milei has a gift for me.
Musk waved it excitedly.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
Taking a chainsaw to bureaucracy is what Musk claims to be doing with his project known as the Department of Government Efficiency. But last week, when he met with Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, it wasn't initially clear whether he was there as a member of the Trump administration or as the CEO of Tesla, which is looking to expand in India.
Breaking news coming in. We're getting a reaction from Prime Minister Narendra Modi after his meeting with Elon Musk. He's taken to social media platform X to say it was a delight to meet.
Presenters on India Today speculated about whether they had discussed Tesla or Doge. A White House official says Musk met with Modi in his personal capacity. Later, though, he was in the Oval Office for Trump's meeting with Modi. In frequent posts on his social media site X, Musk ping-pongs between talking about his work slashing government and promoting his business ventures, many of which have government contract or are regulated by federal agencies. But Trump and Musk dismissed concerns about possible conflicts of interest in a Fox News interview with Sean Hannity.
I mean, I haven't asked the president for anything ever.
And if it comes up, how will you handle it?
Well,
He won't be involved.
yeah, I'll recuse myself if it is.
If there's a
conflict.
conflict, he won't be involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want that, and he won't want it.
That did not assuage the concerns of Don Fox. He was the top lawyer at the Office of Government Ethics during the George W. Bush and Obama administrations.
Musk seems to be in a position with the White House's consent that he can just change hats by the hour as it suits him.
The White House says Musk will file a confidential disclosure of his financial interests with the Office of Government Ethics by the end of next month and has been briefed on ethics requirements. As a special government employee, a temporary role, he doesn't have to divest from his businesses, but he is supposed to recuse himself when necessary. Fox says there's little indication the normal process to avoid conflicts is being followed.
The thing that the public should be concerned about is, well, we don't know. Is he looking after our interests as taxpayers and citizens, or is he looking after his own business interests?
These questions about Musk come up as Trump just fired the director of the Office of Government Ethics, along with other watchdogs. Richard Briffault specializes in government ethics at Columbia Law School and describes Musk as basically a walking conflict of interest.
Whatever the guardrails, and I guess that phrase guardrails has been used a lot, but whatever the guardrails are there in terms of preventing public officials from engaging in self-dealing, enforcement seems to be gone.
A White House official not authorized to speak about this publicly dismissed the criticisms as partisan, saying there is no concern in the White House about whether Musk will follow strict ethics rules. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
Didn't I say earlier that there is a conflict of interest? The water is muddy. How can you be meeting in the White House on Musk interests but then you're in the, I don't get it. Something is off. How do we know when he is operating as a representative of the government? And I'm confused. What's his name was recently served a letter, a notice to clarify his stance and to explain what he means because he spoke out negatively about Mr. Musk. I don't understand what's going on. And I think many people are confused in the country right now. Many people are confused. How do we know? I don't know. Heed not what is said, but what is done. Yeah, interesting. The lines are blurred. And what's with the shades lately? Did he have something done to his eyes? I don't know. But I have grave concerns.
Nobody's confused.
Nobody? Not at all? No, no.
Nope.
All
The
right.
only people that are confused are the ones that voted for him and now, unfortunately, are being impacted by the steps they are taking.
Well, you know something, let me say this, Ja. It is good to see that they are gravely concerned as town halls are popping up all over the country. Yeah, they're pushing back. They're pushing back and they're saying this is not what they signed up for. But hey, it's that's what it's gonna take for us to have change.
Too little, too late.
Let me ask a question, Wes. If you own a company and you're this close to the president and you're trying to get Starlink, Tesla, or whatever into a market as influential as India, do you think that whether you go there with your private hat or the hat of someone that's close to the president, there is a big difference? You honestly think that we could say that there is no conflict of interest because you signed some nonsense paper that you will review in any case? And you fire the people who are supposed to check it to make sure there is no conflict? I mean, either I am delusional
You are.
or something. But I don't even know why these things are questions.
You're
And
delusional.
he's, especially given the competition in the EV market, you're telling me an upstanding citizen as the dear Elonia would not use that at his advantage. And everybody in the world know he influences the president. It is known.
Six for the top of the hour. Go ahead, James, and then we move on.
Yeah, the Argentinian president being there is what kind of, caught my attention. And, like I've been saying it, but I really believe that liberal leaders cannot just wait for like Donald Trump to just like, implode and destroy himself. Like I think they have to self-reflect also because there's a trend, right? There's a trend of conservative leaders taking offices across the world. Like we know what's going to happen in Canada. And the scary thing is that a lot of them might follow him, might take his lead. So I believe that the liberal leaders that went extreme on the other side, they have to self-reflect and say, okay, how can we sit down at the table and say we went too far the last time, and we address some of the concerns of people that did not vote for Donald Trump, but because they did not agree with our stance, they did not vote for us either. So I think, and trust me, like Canada and America is like twins because the exact same thing is happening here. There are people love Justin Trudeau, especially love the liberals, especially immigrants. But a lot of people did not vote or said they're not going to vote. Even in the provincial elections, a lot of liberal leaders are losing. And the main issue is like the LGBTQ education and a lot of these stuff that's happening. And And I think that there have to be some middle point where you say like, okay, we're not infringing on your rights and you should not infringe on our rights. So like the same thing I brought up the other day with the school, do not keep daycare providers from accessing taxpayers' money just because they don't want to put LGBTQ material in their schools. As a government, say, you know what? There are schools that are comfortable with it. Go ahead and let them do it. Schools that are not comfortable with it, just allow them to operate without it also. You can't hold them hostage. And I believe that issues like those, they're going to have to, sit at the table and say, how can we do better? Because it's scary to see that, like in Europe, in Canada, in America, like the whole shift, like everybody's like shifting from liberal to conservative. And you don't want all the conservative leaders to follow Donald Trump lead, because that would be scary.
All right, thank you, James. So to the chat, Empress says same thing happened in Germany. And what's interesting, Empress, is that a lot of Germans are warning the Americans, right? And they are worrying. They are really worried about America and Americans. All right. AG says midterms are going to be exciting. Yep, and a lot of people are getting ready for the midterms. A lot of people are getting ready for the midterms, and that is where the change, if we can make it to there, that's where the change, and that is when the change is going to happen, quite frankly, All right, next up, it is time for our business and tech segment, and our business and tech news is brought to you by grantcoffeehouse.com. Real quick here, 1 second, folks. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grant Coffee House. All right. So again, log on to grantcoffeehouse.com to enjoy 20% off all coffee products. Use the code COFFEEINTO20 at checkout. So let's get into our article in our business and tech segment, weaponization of dollar, the growing trend towards de-dollarization. And this article comes to us courtesy of moderndiplomacy.eu. And let me put the article, the headline rather, on YouTube. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this one. After the end of World War II, the US dollar has been the world's most important currency, as it is the most widely used currency in global trade, covering around 88% of businesses last year. According to IMF reports, the US dollar has served as the leading international currency as the second quarter of 2024, as of the second quarter of 2024, central banks of the countries held around 58% of their allocated reserves in US dollar, with many of these reserves in cash in US bonds. By nearing the end of World War II, 44 allied nations met in Bretton Woods, US in July 1944. Delegates met with a purpose to discuss a new international currency that would help to recover the losses caused by war, lessons to deal with future challenges, and a stable financial system for global trade. Countries agreed to convert international balances into dollars, with the dollar pegged to gold at USD 35 per ounce. Why the US dollar? Because the US was the only country largely intact after World War II, while the European economies were severely damaged and suffered heavily from the war. Besides, the US held most of the world's gold supply, and the gold-backed dollar was the most stable option back then. As a result, countries agreed to support the US dollar and declared it the official global reserve currency. So it was a mutual agreement, or was it done through force and bullying? I don't know. Though the Bretton Woods system lasted until August 1971, when President Richard Nixon decided to suspend the dollar's convertibility to gold. The decision was made due to two major reasons: the overspending of US dollars to finance the Vietnam War, which raised concerns over the stability of the dollar, and second, the lack of sufficient gold reserves to support the dollar's value. Despite various global challenges, the US dollar has been dominating international trade for many decades, and the United States itself has benefited more than any country. The world's major commodities, such as oil, gas, and steel, are being traded in US dollars. There are also domestic factors that contribute to the dollar's dominance, including its stable value, the size of the US giant economy, with a volume of over 27 US trillion dollars, mighty military strength, and the United States' geopolitical influence. Since the Cold War era, the United States has been using the dollar and the dollar payment system as a weapon to impose economic sanctions on unfriendly countries or on those countries whose actions do not align with US interests, aiming to control their behavior and actions. The US has been employing sanctions since the 1950s, initially imposing them on the Soviet Union and North Korea. The strategy of sanctions has continued and extended to Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Although the sanctions had been partially effective in the case of Cuba and North Korea, in most cases, such as Iran and Russia, they remain largely ineffective. The US even imposed sanctions on the members of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, for investigating the possible war crimes committed by the US in Afghanistan. The excessive use of sanctions by the US has reduced their effectiveness over time. Following the Ukraine conflict in February 2022, the US blocked Russia's access to some US $300 billion in liquid foreign exchange reserves in the US and in NATO countries. Although some allies of the United States supported this move, it raised concerns among other states. It was realized that the US might weaponize the dollar even against its allies if it finds that a country's policies are not in the US's favor. After observing such unilateral decisions of the United States, the European countries realized the importance to create an EU based system, which would be an independent of SWIFT and, of course, US payment system. And that would not involve dollar payment. In 2023, French President Emmanuel Macron tried to draw attention to the fact that Europe needs to reduce its dependence on the dollar to protect itself from American vassals. The wide use of the US dollar in imposing sanctions has triggered other nations to do what? Look for alternative currencies for bilateral trade. For example, according to a Global Times report, China and Russia conducted bilateral trade of over US $240 billion, with 90% of that trade in Chinese yuan. Despite the severe sanctions imposed on Russia, countries like India, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE and Turkey continue to trade with Russia using currencies other than the dollar. BRICS, a rapid growing economic bloc led by China and Russia, which was established in 2009 with the aim of countering the West's dominance over international institutions, has failed to serve developing nations sincerely. Since 2022, Russia has taken the lead in promoting and supporting the idea of a BRICS international currency. The plan for a BRICS currency was also discussed at the BRICS summit in August 2023 under the suggested name R5. As of now, the BRICS has 14 members, representing a quarter of the global economy and almost half of the world's population. According to JP Morgan's view on de-dollarization, diversification away from the dollar is a growing trend. However, they emphasize that the factors supporting the dollar's dominance remain deeply entrenched in structural, or I should say, and structural in nature. The dollar's role in global finance, its economic and financial system for USD liquidity, and institutional transparency all indicate that any meaningful erosion of dollar dominance is likely to take decades. Interesting article. What I found rather interesting as I'm reading it is that the article is echoing some of the sentiments that I know I have expressed here on Caffeine too. But I want to go back to why the dollar was made the dollar of dominance, or was given the position of dominance. It dates back to the war, right? The war. And it was agreed upon, not by one person, that we would use it for international trade, so on and so forth. But somewhere along the line, we flipped. And we recognize that, oh, now I can use it as a weapon. I will implement sanctions if you are not aligned with my interest. If I think you are unfriendly, if I don't like your behavior, the things you stand for, now I can use it to control you. A little bit too much power, you would say, was given. But I will say this. With what we see on the horizon, and with what has transpired so far, and we can talk about BRICS if we want to use that as an example, I foresee the moving away. I see the US dollar, if the US does not change its playbook, if it doesn't implement soft power, you would say, Mr. President, instead of going gung ho, using the same approach, if we are not willing to bend, and if we're not willing to change our MO, I see a complete movement away. And other companies, because if all other companies, but if not companies, countries, although is there a big difference? If all the other countries across the globe decide, you know what, we are going to come together and we are going to alienate the US, will the US still be able to have the power or the pull that it has? I highly doubt it. So we here in the US, we have to be careful how we engage. We have to soften the tone. We have to be more relatable, more approachable, more welcoming, more considerate, more empathetic, compassionate. Because remember, where the gold come from? Outside of the US. So much of the gold is to be had in which continent? The continent of Africa. So all it takes is the rest of the world aligning themselves properly with countries in Africa where the gold is to be had. And if they block the US from having access to said gold, I think they're going to see a problem. So we have to check ourselves. We have to check ourselves. And remember, nothing lasts forever, America. So if we want to continue to be a country that is respected and held in high esteem, we are going to have to go back to the drawing board and make some changes, positive changes, where we can be a positive influence. Right now, we're doing the tango with China, and China seems to be the one leading the dance. I don't know. I may be wrong. Anybody want to add anything before I move on? All right. Well, that was our article. Okay, let me jump on. Hey, Burn Skillet. I'm reading some comments here on YouTube. Let me go ahead. The vice president. Yes, yes, yes. As we're saying, the vice president, have we heard from JD Vance recently? We are gravely concerned that we are not seeing him as we should be. And I remember when he was campaigning for the position of vice president, he had voiced concerns or echoed the concerns of many voters or potential voters, would be voters, that we were not seeing then Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, no, we're not seeing you, JD. We need to see you. We need to know that you're okay. We need to know in what capacity you're serving. Yeah, yeah, we need to know. And that story closes out our business and tech segment. And remember, folks, I invite you to head on over to www.grandcoffeehouse.com. Shop today and get 20% off all coffee products. Just use the code COFFEEINTO20 for your 20% discount at checkout. Time now for Health and Science News. And our Health and Science News article is brought to you courtesy of Lormel Skin Food, lormelskinfood.com for a natural, beautiful you. And let me go ahead and Lormel Skin Food. Log on to lormelskinfood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. All right, our Health and Science News article comes to us courtesy, and I think we have a soundbite for this one, if I'm not mistaken. We're talking about protein shakes and our young people, right? Yes, they're working out, but we want them to do it in a healthy fashion. We don't want them to be accelerating, becoming dependent on these supplements or pre-workout mixes, which can prove harmful.
A new study links muscle-building supplements to symptoms of body dysmorphia in teenagers. This data specifically mentions 6 supplements, including whey protein powder and creatine, which is often used to gain muscle. The study team analyzed data from more than 2,700 participants, ages 16 to 30. The study shows teens taking these supplements were also more likely to spend excessive time at the gym and obsess over their food intake.
Yes. If special needs, we have to be so careful and monitor our young men in particular. I know I have one here where he lives at the gym. He does what you call the thing, MMA training. And I constantly have to be reminding him, stay away from these things. So I can relate to it. It's a almost daily conversation. Please see to it that whatever you do naturally, even though some of these things say they have natural ingredients. Me not so sure. I question a lot of these things, right? Do it the natural way as much as possible. All right. We're not trying to kill a dream. We're just looking out for you in the long run. Right? Things don't, young people, and I know we're all we were rather all of that mindset, we're young and we don't say anything about bad way. And then guess what? We hit our 40s and lo and behold, things start taking shape, right? So we have to instill the good habits from early, teach them, encourage them to take care of themselves now. All right. No, no, no. Agreed, Empress. If you do it naturally, you don't have to question it. All right, folks. So that was our health and science article brought to you by lormelskinfood.com. Log on to lormelskinfood.com for a natural, beautiful you. And that is LAURMEL, lormelskinfood.com. Coming up tomorrow in our health and science segment, former MTV VJ Ananda Lewis says her cancer has spread after she decided to keep her tumor. So we have that coming up tomorrow. We're going to listen to what she has to say and why she opted to go that route. We listen, we don't judge. So again, coming up tomorrow in our health and science segment, former MTV VJ Ananda Lewis says her cancer has spread after she decided to keep her tumor. Also coming up tomorrow, I forgot to mention this in our business and tech segment, farmers deploy next gen solution to protect world's most expensive spice, and it is an amazing innovation. All right, we're going to do the wrap up for the on air live stream, the internet radio live stream, but we're going to be continuing on YouTube live and of course right here on a fan base. So folks, please hang in there with me while I close out the internet radio live stream. Thank you so much for your patience. Coffee in Tow is an interactive world news podcast, a dynamic and engaging live show that streams across multiple internet radio stations worldwide. This podcast brings you real-time news updates, in-depth analysis, and interactive discussions on global events, making you a part of the conversation no matter where you are. With a diverse range of expert guests and listener participation, it's your go-to source for staying informed and connected to the world. To the channel, like, share, and comment, of course. All right, let me go ahead and close out the internet radio stream. I'll be right back with you, YouTube and fan base. All right, and we are back. We are back. All right, so next up, we have a Believe It or Not article. So I find this one funny, but I don't know why, but it is funny. So to me, thieves used a stolen card to buy a lottery ticket. Hold on a second. Let me put it on, put the link on, or the headline rather on YouTube. So thieves where is it? Thieves used stolen card to buy a lottery ticket, and the victim wants to share in the winnings. I thought you'd be more concerned with the fact that them thief your card, but I guess you might as well get a cut out of it, is what you're saying. Probably it's quite possible. So let's get into this one, courtesy of abcnews.go.com. Out of Paris, thieves used a stolen card to buy a winning French lottery ticket worth 500,000 euros or $523,000. But they vanished before cashing in. And now they're among France's most famous fugitives. The man whose card was stolen, identified in police documents as Jean David E., is offering to split the cash with the lucky winners. He wants his wallet back too. The thieves, meanwhile, face the risk of arrest. As of Saturday, the state lottery operator said that no one had submitted the ticket to cash out. It's an incredible story, but it's all true. So hold on a second. All right, let me read this a bit further before I start asking my questions. Jean David discovered earlier this month that his backpack had been stolen from his car in the southern city of Toulouse, including bank cards and other documents, the lawyer said. Jean David asked his bank to block the card and learned it had already been used in a local shop. At the shop, a vendor told him two apparently homeless men had used one of his cards to buy the winning scratch off lottery ticket. They were so totally happy that they forgot their cigarettes and their belongings and walked out like crazy people. Jean David filed a police complaint about the theft, but is ready to withdraw it if the thieves come forward so that they can share the money. Without them, no one would have won. Prosecutors may try to seize the winnings, considering them illegally obtained gains, the lawyer said. Well, the lawyer launched a national appeal on Thursday asking the perpetrators to contact his office to make a deal. You risk nothing. We will share with you, and you would be able to change your lives. The ticket will eventually expire, he warned, and time is working against us. What would you do in that situation? Huh. How can we trust, right? How can I trust that if I reach out to you, you're going to ensure that I do get a portion of the winnings and you won't have me arrested? Or at that point, is it out of the lawyer's control? It's up to the state, and I'm saying the state being Paris, to decide if they want to pursue against you. To think about that one then.
They don't deserve any of it. As soon as they turn it in, they need to be arrested and then give me all the money.
But did they steal his wallet though? This sounds to me like the man misplacing things, them find it and say, woo, at least I didn't go off spending his money. They could have done that too.
Once they use the debit card, it's theft.
Hold on, the Empress. Empress, my screen is jamming up. Can somebody bring up Empress for me, please? It's okay. It's theft. But aren't we being robbed legally anyway? My thing is this, I would have a little grace on them. I would give them some grace because they could have gone shopping on a shopping spree with the money on my card.
Do you think that they didn't go on a shopping spree because they've already won the lotto, so they don't have to go on a shopping spree?
But them can't claim the money, Jack.
So, legally, because yes, I've heard about this. Long time no chat. I'll be working. So, yeah, legally, he cannot. The guy whose wallet was stolen, that they used the funds to steal the lotto ticket, legally cannot get the lotto ticket without them because they purchased it. And being that he reported that it was stolen, then that counts as a stolen item. So he doesn't have any entitlement to it. So the only way he could have entitlement to that funds is if those two guys come in, they turn themselves in, and with the agreement that they won't be persecuted or persecuted as much, and split the money that way. That's the only way that the guy whose wallet got stolen can get any of those funds.
Well, how about this then, Empress? Nobody not get nothing.
I mean, that's the least that can happen.
Yeah.
But why not try?
I'm sorry. Me homeless. I'm already looked down on, right? Because the article did say they're homeless, no?
Yes.
How them know say homeless people?
I don't know. Their dumbasses probably come into the office. Come in the same store anyway.
Dre and I are on the same page. Dre said, how about tear up the ticket and nobody gets anything? I would bargain with them. Me say tear up the ticket because I somehow I don't trust that I will be free. I will be allowed to go free. I will get even a portion of it. Me say tear it up and keep it moving. All money is not always good money.
I'll pay your bill.
Be mindful we're on air.
Who is that? Oh, 80. Yeah, we're on air, but we're just having a conversation, 80. Me said tear it up. Any of us could be in that situation. Is it different? Okay, is it really different from me finding a lotto ticket out there on the ground? What if you find a lotto ticket out there on the ground? What are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna turn it over?
It's mine if nobody's name on the back of it.
Finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
That's why they say as soon as you purchase your lotto tickets to put your name on it.
Yeah. But you see, AT is here to put some common sense in us and to get our moral compass in order. Thank you, AT. And I'm frozen on fan base, so I have to apologize.
I was speaking of language.
Yes, so you're speaking to our conscience, and we have to pay attention to what we say, right? We have to be cognizant of our utterances and how they can be misconstrued or taken seriously. Yeah, in a landscape where we have to be very careful. Everything is a minefield. We're walking a minefield. All right, fan base. I'm gonna leave and come back because I'm frozen again. So hang tight. Bear with me 1 second. Want to say thank you to everyone watching on YouTube Live. I invite you to hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment. Please, thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined the movement on YouTube Live so far. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for engaging with us. Just a moment here while I try to get back into fan base. All right, fan base, I'm back with you. Back with you. Thank you for your patience. Yeah. In life, we just have to understand that everything we do has consequences, repercussions, whether good or bad, right? So whatever we do, let us make sure we're making the right decision. If you see someone's wallet, please do not take it up and proceed to use the contents for your own benefit. Please don't do that. Do the right thing. Turn it over to the authorities. And if the person who claims the belongings just says thank you, keep it moving. If they want to reward you monetarily, be appreciative. But let us do the right thing, no matter what our station or state in life. All right? Not everything works out as a blessing. Some things end up being traps for us. All right. So let me say that. Let's be mindful. All right, and that brings us to the end of all the articles we have today. Tomorrow we're going to have our lifestyle segment. So I am going to be every Tuesday and Friday, we are going to try to incorporate I shouldn't say every Tuesday, definitely a Friday, and any other day in the week when it is possible to do so. We are going to be having our lifestyle segment at the end of the show where we bring to the forefront whether it's videos, audio clips, or letters. Essentially bringing a little bit of Days After Dark into Coffee and Toe until we come back with Days After Dark. All right. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow with you, YouTube Live. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. And I just want to say thank you once again for watching here with us and supporting. Remember, comment, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or let me go ahead and end the YouTube live stream. I will be right back. Coffee in Toe is an interactive world news podcast, a dynamic and engaging live show that streams across multiple internet radio stations worldwide. This podcast brings you real-time news updates, in-depth analysis, and interactive discussions on global events, making you a part of the conversation no matter where you are. With a diverse range of expert guests and listener participation, it's your go-to source for staying informed and connected to the world. Coffee and Toe is brought to you in part by Lormel Skin Food. Log on to LormelSkinFood.com. Discover the range of natural skincare solutions. Indulge in the radiance of natural and organic beauty with the best natural and organic soap bars, whipped soaps, body butters, and oils. All 100% natural products. Lormel Skin Food for a natural, beautiful you. The world's best coffee from our farms to your cup. It's Grand Coffee House.